Hey.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Reed, you've been welcoming us to the show, bro.
Yeah, that's my.
Is that like your thing now, bro?
I didn't mean to step on anyone's toes.
No,
Welcome to the Green Light Podcast.
I'd love for somebody.
I'm Chris Long.
Do it. Hey, what's up, y'all? I got Dr. Fax here. I got Macon here. I got Cowboy Reed here. Got the dudes behind the microphones there, behind the machines. Want to welcome everybody in the chat. Much better slate this weekend to talk about.
That's right.
Much better slate.
Implications.
Poor scheduling by the NFL. All the good games, 4:00. Well, there's some good ones at 1 too that I want to watch, and we'll talk about. But like that 4:00, pull up that 4:00 slate for people. This is going to be nuts.
Some hot 4 at 4, I think, is what we're going with, and then one game.
So 4 to 4:25, you got Indy Denver, which is obviously a huge game.
Hot.
Cowboy, you can't wait for that one. Buffalo at Detroit. Some people might be watching that game instead. Pittsburgh at Philly. Some people might be watching that game. And then New England, Arizona. Nobody's going to be watching that game. But Tampa and Los Angeles is another one that like is sneaky, huge implications. Not sneaky if you're paying attention. I mean, you got Miami, Houston, and the ones go up a little bit. We've got, Washington, New Orleans, if you're into that. Spencer Rattler, presumably, yeah.
Maybe Jake Haener.
Jake Haener.
Haener.
Pick your poison. You got Baltimore, New York, which should be. We just got done doing the gambling show, so we're going to talk a little bit more about gambling this week, so we can actually talk about things out in the open. So we'll get to all this stuff. Much better week in the NFL this week. I've lost my touch. I can't win a bet. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't tail me. It's just been a bloodbath this week and coming out of Sunday. Guys, the first thing I want to ask is like, what are we supposed to do anything about the Orbs?
I don't know about the Orbs.
You don't know about the Orbs?
No, I don't know about the Orbs.
You in New Jersey?
You're like my wife.
You're talking about? Well, you're the one.
You say that a lot.
If you're
That's why we
talking
get
about
along so well.
you've seen them up close, right?
Orbs?
You were in New Jersey Wednesday.
I was in New Jersey, but I was looking for them, but I didn't see any. Are y'all aware of this thing?
Yeah. But like this has been going on like
Forever.
No, but like they like last year I feel like they were saying they were seeing this and people were talking about it and everyone just never minded.
This is a huge concentration of orb activity, and it's happening a lot in New Jersey. Now, what you make of that, I don't know. And then last night, and nowadays it's like, with AI and with camera phones, I'm getting text messages. My group chat is going off at like midnight, 10 texts at a time, orb footage. Another orb. You guys are really going to sit here like nothing's happening?
I haven't seen.
I'm not going to even Google orb to find out what an orb is.
Okay, it's a lit ball. It's a
lit ball.
It's a lit ball.
They need rebranding. Now, lit balls I could get into.
So what's up with the lit balls?
Okay. So you're saying they're lit balls?
I heard they were drones or something.
So there are drones. They were talking about SUV-sized drones, and some people in the chat are probably like, hey, I don't need you guys talking about this stuff. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to talk about it. There are reports of like SUV-sized drones, which I don't worry about because they have like FAA lighting. That doesn't concern me. And really, the orbs don't concern me either, unless they're China.
But didn't they already confirm that there are aliens?
No question.
So if they confirm that, like, why wouldn't we think the next thing is that they're going to be here?
Well, they've been here a while. Like we've seen the orbs for a long time. But now the orbs are coming. They're coming down a lot. They're checking us out a lot, and I'm kind of wondering. I heard one of my friends was like, "Oh well, they know something bad's going to happen, so they've started. They've increased their surveillance or what? I think they're probably, if I had to guess, they look at Earth like a Zillow listing, and maybe the Zestimate's going down, and they're trying to see what's going on, or they just discovered us. You got to realize there's a lot of other aliens out there, in my opinion. So this could be a new group that just found us.
What if Earth's being talked about at like an alien bar? across the galaxy, and like this
For
one
sure.
alien's like, "Yo, have you heard about that new place?"
What the fuck was Brock Purdy doing?
and the alien's like, "Yo, can you throw the 49ers Rams game on the TV there?"
Aliens hitting Stream East.
Hell yeah. That's
You know?
funny.
Yeah, I don't know if people in the chat. I mean, everybody's just like, no big deal. Not everybody. Y'all in this room are kind of scaring me. It's almost like you want the aliens to come.
Well, we're assuming that they're bad aliens. What if they're good aliens?
Here's what's crazy. Our whole lives we've been talking about UFOs and aliens, and now they're here, and everybody's just like, yeah, well, do you see the healthcare CEO?
I've never seen an alien.
Let's get to Sunday Night Football. These guys, their heads are buried in the sand in the studio.
I just don't believe they're aliens. I think it's some type of visual phenomena or drones or something like that. And to Nate's point that like aliens have been confirmed, discovered, that's not true. We don't know that for sure.
I'm glad somebody challenged that.
It's this thing called the Fermi
What do
paradox.
you mean?
It's the
We don't
Fermi
know that.
paradox.
We don't know that aliens like they should exist here because like if resources like on Earth exist, they should exist other places. So it makes sense that there would be aliens. But if there are, why have we not seen them? That's the Fermi paradox.
Well, because they're just sending drones. They're sending orbs. You got to figure these are little unmanned orbs.
We definitely
Yeah,
have
you think-
seen them.
We're not.
And
we're
people
not the
say
only,
they've seen them.
We're not the
People say
only
they've
one-
been up in the spacecrafts.
We're not the only ones with CCTV.
Right.
Like they have it.
They have it too.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bro.
We're just getting wiped. Like Men in Black wiped.
Chat, is it kind of concerning the way the staff here is just like, what just a bunch of orbs?
I think it's crazier if they are just drones. Have you seen a drone show?
Yeah, in China?
Yeah. No, I seen
There-
a drone show here.
Dude, the
Fire.
Lighting of the Lawn had a drone show, and that is crazy. What they can program drones to do, that's freaky.
That's freaky.
That's freaky.
But the orbs are not.
But we don't quite
Okay.
know what the orbs are. They could
All
be
the more
drones.
reason to be a little bit spooked. I'm just saying.
Or it's some college frat kids playing a prank with drones and just fucking around.
Supposedly there's drones popping up all over the place.
I
though.
mean, people have drones, like so, and I think they said like certain places they're about to set an ordinance that you can't fly any drones. So like, just do that, and then if they keep popping up, then
I'm just
figure it
saying,
out.
Can y'all wait until the playoffs are over? Can you wait until after the Super Bowl? Because there's some win totals that Nate has to cash in before you come down and just fucking off us all because you need our resources because you did the same thing to your Earth. And you also have to figure if they came this far, they probably don't need to hurt us. That's the bright side outlook.
They're
They
gonna
probably
start.
don't care about hurting us either. Like, why would they?
You know what
why
might
would they mind
happen?
if we lived or died?
You know what might
Well, if they
happen?
need to use our Earth,
Yeah, they just take what they want.
what if they were like, well, we just need to move here?
This is, you know what this is? This is the start of Space Jam. What if we had a different type of Space Jam? They're gonna come and take people's powers. Like, what if they come and take Josh Allen's powers for?
You guys are so unserious. There's
For a
aliens
football.
landing. It's like nothing to see here. Man,
Matt Minner said he wants to. He says, "I wish an orb would square up with me."
what would you do, Matt Minner? I don't know if you know. I don't even think you could hit that thing.
What would
dude.
you do if an orb squared up on you?
Nothing, bro. Take out my phone like everybody else and just watch the show. All right.
Take out my phone.
Do you guys want to talk about Belichick after or before Sunday Night Football?
Let's talk about him now.
You want to talk about Bill
Yeah.
right now? I was at work with the guy the other day, and then I leave work, and then I hear Bill's going to North Carolina, and he is just a slickster, you know. we couldn't get anything out of him, you know, and
all business.
all business, and did his job, did it well. Had a great show the other day. He was amidst everything that was going on, he had one of his best shows of the year, and it's been fun working with him. I think he's probably going to keep doing the show. I don't know though.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think he's done doing the show.
You think he's done doing the show?
That would be my guess.
Are you breaking this to me
I
that maybe my favorite person at work is no longer going to be at work when I go next week?
think that's the case.
You're going to tell me he can't just pop in every Wednesday and do the recruiting stuff, on what's he call it?
I'm sure there's got to be.
Snapface, MyFace.
In this new age of college sports, he certainly could, especially without War Chest and Mike Lombardi's he's taken to Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to.
You really just broke up inside the NFL, huh?
Yeah.
Now, here's what I'm really glad. I did get a great video from him before I left, like the other day. So my kids get really into this football guy thing at the end of the show where we pitch a football guy, and Ryan wins all the time. I don't know. He's obviously bribing Bill, but, I mean, my kids take it seriously now. I don't mind when I don't get it because it's just showbiz. But the other day I said, Bill, you're going to have to answer to my kids. You keep picking Ryan. I said, I need you to take a video. I walk up with a video, and I said, I need you to apologize to my kids, Bill. And he stands there, and he stares at the video for 10 seconds. And I'm like, what? I'm like, say something, Bill. And he's like, oh, I thought it was my face. He's like, sorry. And then he started the video. He said, sorry, Luke. Sorry, Waylon. Sorry I didn't pick your dad's football guy. So I got that video out of the way. I was going to have him on the podcast. I hope I can still have him on the podcast. If I'd have known he was going to leave, and I was going to be asking for a lot more shit. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy. You bring up an interesting point that he might not be coming back.
Yeah.
What if
I think that was written into his various contracts.
I hadn't really thought about that.
He can up and leave.
That he was just going to leave.
What if he asked you for a donation?
To UNC?
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Okay.
He's going 11-1 next year at UNC, losing the Wahoos. I really might start going down to the Belichick Bowl, though, because Steve's going down there, too, supposedly. And so when you look at this thing in all seriousness, like, what is he doing? I have a couple theories that I shared with Nolan last night. They're not groundbreaking theories, but, like, let's talk this out. Why would Bill Belichick want to go to college? And obviously, he hasn't told me anything. Nor do I need him to tell me anything. It's actually more fun this way, so I can actually talk about it and I can get into the conjecture. I would feel weird about it had I actually been told something. He hasn't told me shit, okay? Obviously. But number one, I want to see him in Canton. He can't go to Canton while he's coaching in the NFL. He's 72 years old. Like, maybe there's just hey, that's in the past. I don't want to finish my career looking thirsty, getting a job that maybe isn't perfect and not, damaging my reputation or, the end of the New England run, people were taking shots at him. If he takes one of these jobs that's not perfect, things don't go right, people call into question his record, although I think that's unfair. I think it's possible that he's just saying, hey, like the NFL, it's in the past now, and I'm going to start chapter 2, and it's not going to be as long, but it's going to cement me as one of the best coaches of all time on both levels because maybe I can win in college. And, like, there's only been a couple guys that have been able to do that. Pete Carroll being one, Harbaugh being one, but Harbaugh didn't win it all in both. Pete, I think, is the only guy that probably did that, right? And so
also Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Don't forget those guys. But there's just not a big group that's been able to do it at both levels. So there's that possibility. I think there's also the possibility that maybe he's looking at a job opening this year that's not popping up, that he was considering in his own head September through October. And then when it became apparent that the job opening wasn't going to be there, he's going to bide his time in college for a year. And, people make a big deal about that buyout thing. And initially I was like, oh, look at that buyout language where the buyout goes from $10 million to $1 million in 2025. But to Nolan's point, if somebody wants to come get Bill Belichick and they want him bad enough, they're going to pay $10 million. So I don't think the buyout's a hurdle, but I do think it's possible that maybe he looked at one job that he's like, I really want this job, and it's not open. And, maybe that's the Eagles' job or something like that. I'm just throwing something out there where, like, early in the year it might look like, hey, Nick's struggling, and now he's gone on this long run. Take your pick. It could be Philly. It could be somewhere else. But, like, in my hypothetical, he's saying maybe it'll be open in a year. It could be the Giants' job.
What if it's
maybe they've given Dable some assurances? I don't know.
What if it's the Panthers' job and he already now has a house down there?
Oh, that's quite interesting.
And he's already established and.
But I don't know why he would ever want to work for David Tepper. Imagine, like, being Bill and being like, yeah, I'm going to go work for David Tepper. But then the other one is, like, maybe he's just enthusiastically diving into this thing where he gets to, like, build a little empire. with the NIL, like maybe that's a negative to some other people, but not for him.
That's what I said. I said, like, Bill is known for, like, when he was in the league, finding free agents and finding all these cheap guys or guys that you're not even really thinking about and foregoing dealing with big-time contracts or athletes that maybe, yeah, we can go grab him, but no, I don't want him. I can get the same production from this guy. And I feel like that's college. That's college football in a nutshell. Like, if you're going to be a good team, is being able to find guys, walk-ons or whatever it may be, and find the best athletes. And if he can translate that, I feel like it ends up being the same thing.
Well, there's no salary cap.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one thing that he's always been up against, and he's done a pretty good job with, you know, bargain hunting and that sort of thing. But, like, now you don't really have to bargain hunt. It's not his problem.
I seen.
Am I right? I mean,
I
the way the NIL stuff's going, it's just kind of like, hey, roll up a big bill as much as a donor's willing to pay.
think not only has college football never been more like the NFL, it's now more like the NFL than the NFL is because of the lack of a salary cap. You can go out and pick all of your groceries, which was some of the pushback Bill seemed to be getting in the last cycle, where we don't know if we want to hand over everything to you, the 71, 72-year-old coach, who is the greatest coach of all time, but is also under 500 without Tom Brady and hadn't had the greatest track record as a GM
Right.
of late.
Yeah.
So now he gets to have all of those things, and his dad coaching at Carolina, and now he gets to coach with his son in the same place. That probably does mean something.
That's a little romantic, and Steve being involved is huge, right? You know, when you hear Steve's going to go with him, and Steve's probably the heir apparent, that's an interesting one. I mean, it's also interesting to me, and I'm a big fan of Steve's. Like, Steve, like, having had a dad who, you know, was somebody, I always wanted to live my own life and do my own thing. And Steve's done that to a degree, you know, going to Washington. But I don't know if this was like a master plan thing. I kind of doubt it was a master plan thing. But, you know, Steve's now going to be coaching under his dad again. Maybe the light at the end of the tunnel for him is he's going to get a head job and maybe get to prove himself on his own. But it is an interesting way to go about it. And I also think the destination's super interesting. You just brought up the nostalgia of the fact there is a picture of little Bill Belichick, who looks like little Bill Belichick. That picture's incredible. Sitting in the stands, presumably in Chapel Hill, that black and white picture.
Yep.
And, you know, there's some history there. And I could see him down in North Carolina, man. This is his version of being a snowbird. He would never go to Florida.
Told you guys last thing. OBX. That's the next house. He's
Yeah.
gonna be in OBX, kicking it.
I've heard from a couple holier-than-thou Carolina fans who are just disgusted
Yeah.
that they are above this Dion to Colorado circus that will be Bill to Carolina.
Really?
It's definitely going to be the white version of that for sure. But
Yeah.
And I don't blame them.
But instead of rappers and stuff, it's going to be GMs and scouts and recruits and stuff that's going to matter for those players. When, like, in a nutshell, for those players who are maybe senior or juniors or seniors, it's just like, even if he's only going to be there for a couple of years, this window just opened up like big time for you guys, and hopefully you take advantage of it.
Well, he's also framed it in a way. He's controlled the narrative. He was on McAfee. He talked about this thing going in. McAfee is a huge recruiting tool that he's made an inroad with Pat. He can go back on that show whenever he wants. Mm-hmm. He can come back on Inside the NFL whenever he wants too. You know, that'd be great. But
he can come on Greenlight.
He can come on Greenlight anytime he wants. It goes without saying. I was angling for a big sit down with him. I don't know if I'm I don't know if I'm gonna get it now.
But now, if you do get it, like,
Yeah.
what if he just trolls you the whole time? Like, hey, we're just gonna stomp Virginia.
I don't think that's what he'd do. I think he'd go back into being like, I thought I was gonna get him like out of coach speak, but now he might go back into coach speak. I don't know, man. I think saying and framing it like it's gonna be a pro program. Mm-hmm. We're preparing you for the pros. Like, it is like we're gonna do everything like the pros, and I believe him on that. Like, having played for Al Groh, who's from the Parcells tree, who's coached with Belichick, the whole thing. Like, when we were in college, there were things that we learned about how to be a pro that I think maybe some other programs weren't imparting, you know, upon the student athletes. So I think there will be an advantage there, and I think kids now are more like businessmen than ever. And so, if you're a businessman, it's pretty good for a business to have that on your resume. I also think like if he does this for a couple years, the way that some teams get infatuated with, hey, this guy was at Alabama, like they run a pro program down there. It's going to be, they know what it is when they get to the pros. Like we're going to get a lot out of guys early. I feel like if he stays long enough, then that kind of reputation probably sticks with UNC.
And what percentage of college kids think that they're going to make it to the NFL? 75%?
So many. I'd say it's like 40%. Well, when you take the walk-ins into account, it's probably less. But like of scholarship athletes, I think that probably a little less than half think they're going to the NFL. And when you get an offer,
I feel like if you're a starter, like by your junior year, like you probably feel like, yo, I have a shot.
At a big program, I think it's closer to 50-50. But at a place like UNC, if they're recruiting well, there's going to be a lot of kids that have aspirations, So
And the top of that NIL portal is going to want to go.
It's getting hot
Carolina.
Yeah. It's getting hot.
They'll
in here.
want that 1 year of schooling.
Funniest meme I've seen from this whole situation is third string. It's a picture of some white kid, and it's like third string lacrosse player finding out he's starting this week for the football team.
No question.
And that's gonna be interesting if he starts scouting that way. If he's gonna go, like really dive into it, and you see like we start hearing stories like, yeah, this guy was on the tennis team last year, and now he's lining up taking.
He's one of the most creative coaches ever. And again, like deals and information. So the fact that this was news to everybody is no shock to me. I mean, he was going to hold things close to the vest. And I also think like the reason we didn't know about it is like, he's not going to, when a school breaks a story like this, when any story is broken in the sports world, there's like a hierarchy of who breaks it. The AD probably says, hey, I need these writers to break it. I need these guys in the pros to break it. He might owe something. I'm not saying he owes something to Adam Schefter, but in a circumstance like this, there's no like, hey, 10 a.m. the day of the announcement, he pulls everybody aside and tells them, hey, I'm going to UNC. So I understand the guarded nature of the announcement. So anyways, wild week. My coworker is going to be coaching at UNC. I told him too. I told him when I didn't think, because at first he was like, you believe everything you hear in the media, that kind of thing. And I was like, good, because I didn't want to kick your fucking ass every year, coach, once a year. And now I realized I was talking shit. I was joking around at the time because I didn't think he was really doing it. But now I realize like I've given him ammunition.
Yep, it's gonna be your picture is gonna be up in his whiteboard.
When we get beat by 91, you'll know why.
It's me.
You'll know
it's
why.
me.
On the show, you did have a good impression though when it was in it.
Onto the Peach Bowl. I get it's hit or miss, but it's pretty damn funny. The thing that I keep imagining is them making like the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Right.
And like him having to do the Pop-Tart stuff.
The mayo thing? All right,
the mayo
Bill, we're going to
thing.
dump mayo on you now.
You're really going to see a different side of this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, Steve can do that.
Chris, you went 3-1 against Carolina.
Yeah, no, we owned
4-0, baby.
Yeah.
Most classes went 4-0, but 3-1's good.
Well, 0-4 against Tech too. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
So
4-0 versus UNC though. That was the highlight. We don't care about that.
How do we lose to them?
7-5.
Did my fucking
Chapel
job,
Hill.
didn't I?
Wow. 7-5.
7-5, bro. Seriously,
That'll happen on occasion.
happens a lot.
Yeah.
Feels like in my career.
The Greenlight podcast is presented by BetMGM, and we'd love to hear
That's
from you
right.
now.
Yeah, BetMGM has made betting easy and seamless all season long. Hopefully, you have been able to pick up some plays from us to use on the BetMGM app. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code Greenlight to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. And just a reminder, BetMGM's got your back with a second chance promotion all season long. BetMGM is offering you a second chance on your first touchdown bet. When you place a wager on a first touchdown scorer bet, and he doesn't score first but scores second, BetMGM will return 100% of your stake back in cash. Be sure to take advantage of this offer. And remember, use bonus code Greenlight when you sign up to get a up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Happy hunting. They wrote you out of that ad read.
Wrong. Here I am. At MGM.
All right. Let's talk about that Thursday night football game last night. No touchdowns, bro.
We did our betting show yesterday, and guess what was brought up? Matt had said, he was like, you know what's looking juicy? There's no touchdowns. And literally, we sat there, and we were like, hey, has there been any games this year that have been no touchdowns? And there hasn't been.
That one just happened.
It hasn't been.
Now you can't
and so
bet that.
like literally at halftime last night, I texted Matt and I was like, yo, did you end up putting that bet in? And he was like, nah.
Well, the reason there are no touchdowns in this game is because, number one, the rain in the first half was just
perfectly timed.
It was like like the
rain.
rainstorm from the movie The Fan, which I bring up that movie a lot. But that they never should have played that baseball game right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Great
fucking totally unrealistic.
De Niro's awesome in that.
He's great, but the first half of
God
this
had
game,
an
you couldn't even
parlay.
see. You couldn't even see. You couldn't catch the ball. You talk about guys on the broadcast talking about, you got a body catch in that situation. You saw some receivers having a hard time. You saw Matt Stafford having a hard time early, which, coming off a game where they scored 44 points against the Bills, I think a lot of people were probably on the over, and I thought a lot of people would be on the Rams, so my dumb ass got on the Niners, and a lot of people were on the Rams, and a lot of people won money. And they won money because the Niners offense, to me, looks totally lost. Like, they look a lot more hapless. I mean, it just... To me, I know you're down Trent. I know the protection isn't great. I know you've lost Brandon Ayuk, all this stuff. You're down to Garendo, right? Which I think matters. But for a group that Shanahan's got a great reputation, and he should, from a schematic standpoint. I've not been impressed with how they've been able to get their offense playing at a high level this year. They haven't been able to do that, rather. A lot of coaches, they lose players, they find a way. And on multiple levels, I think if you're a Niners fan, you're disappointed last night because, first and foremost, when your team has their back against the wall, and this is a classic back against the wall spot for the Niners, especially in a short week where the other team played a wire-to-wire game where 86 points were scored. The Niners needed this game worse than the Rams needed it. They're at home, the whole thing. Their guys hurt, but some guys come back. You get Drake Greenlaw back. You get Bosa back. There are guys coming back. That should be like hey, we're at knife point in the corner. We got to fight with every ounce of fight we have. And I didn't feel like the Niners had that fight. Like, it's a kind of an abstract thing to criticize the team for not having fight, but you kind of know it when you see it. And I don't feel like anybody ever came out there and really led. Like, I think the guys on defense played their asses off at times, and a couple big red zone stops, which kind of unexpected considering they had given up 14 straight touchdowns in the red zone, which is an insane stat from a San Francisco defense. But when Drake Greenlaw exited the game, I think that's when it started to snowball. And if you were watching the game, people would say, I tweeted last night that the Greenlaw thing killed the Niners. And, people respond, well, the offense is really bad. No shit. But when you're in a game like that and it happens, the defense has to play better in the second half. And the minute he left, it was like the Rams with a running back who's taken 80 carries pretty much in 5 days. Fly on the wall. How's Kyron Williams feeling this morning? Kudos to him, tip of the cap to him. But when you're in that game and he leaves, the Rams started controlling the football. And those were really kind of attrition-type possessions that ended up hurting them. And when they needed Devondre Campbell to come in the game, unbeknownst to us watching the game at the time, kind of wondering why certain guys are out there at backer, he don't want to come in the game. I don't know what to make of that. Like, I don't know if it's we've seen this before. Like, I saw, God rest his soul, Vontae Davis leave early and retire, which is a totally different thing. He doesn't want to play anymore. Like, he's done. To me, it feels like sour grapes that Drake Greenlaw, who's a better player and is going to improve the defense immediately and did, is back in the lineup. Like, was it just that? And, you know, I saw Josina Anderson, who's had a take or two, kind of giving this guy an excuse and saying, let's wait to hear what he has to say. No, let's not. Because all I needed to hear was his teammates. If there was something going on that we needed to be delicate about, then you wouldn't have heard Charvarius Ward up there saying he's probably going to get cut soon. And you wouldn't have heard George Kittle up there saying, I don't ever want to see that again. It's immature. It's selfish. Like, I don't ever want to be a part of something like that again. For guys to criticize a teammate in the moment like that, they've got all the information. Believe me, if there was a shadow of a doubt what was going on, they would have said, hey, let's move on. We'll talk about it more later. Or like, hey, I don't know what's going on there. Guys were demonstrative about like, this is bullshit. And it's embarrassing. And that sticks with you. Now, unfortunately, and this is the thing about making decisions in life, the first thing I think of when I think about Devondre Campbell is going to be this. That sucks because he's had a really good career. You know, he had a really good run in Green Bay. You know, he hasn't been great in San Francisco, but I got a lot of respect for the guy's career. To make this decision, there were times where I didn't want to play. You know, like I'm telling you, 2018 for me in Philly, maybe a lot of people don't know this, but I was not happy. There were stretches of the season where I was very unhappy. But you fucking put your big boy pants on and you go be a pro. Mm-hmm. It just, to me, whatever the motivation was, it's not enough to say I won't go in the game. And that killed him, ironically. It doesn't just kill his reputation. It kills the Niners because you're playing with your back against the wall. You need stops. Dre Greenlaw leaves the game. That's part of the reason they lost the game.
Well, the Rams got the ball with 8 and change and then had a 17-play drive that took 9 minutes, 45 seconds off the clock. They had it. They gave it back in a couple minutes into the fourth quarter. It tied it up 6-all. And then finished each of their last 3 drives with points, all field goals, obviously. But that broke them, 17 plays.
And I know the Rams fans are going to say, hey, you're not really talking about the Rams. Hey, this is just the last time we probably talk about the Niners for a while. So I figured we just talk about them for a second. I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know where they go from here. Debo dropping that football, you know, there's a lot of blame that goes around.
Yeah, he hurt his hand choking kickers. He's been having drops.
I was kind of wondering, do they get to beat him up now?
I mean, if I was in that locker room, hell yeah, like
you would beat him up.
Like I would, if I was involved in that whole situation,
you would choke him like he choked the kicker.
I mean, I might not choke him. I might be like, hey, maybe your hands. Like you should think about not using your hands that way.
Oh, so
focus on catching.
This doesn't warrant an assault.
No, like you control.
Only kickers.
Say again?
Only kickers warrant an assault.
I mean, it's just like Debo's not a guy that's just going to take assault. That's how I look at it. Like those kickers and the long snapper, they chose to accept that.
That's an interesting take.
I mean, they had they could have fought back or did something back.
I am just so people know at home if this gets clipped or something. I'm not saying beat up Debo. Like people drop the ball.
He got
but Nate earlier in the season when Debo choked the kicker was like he kind of had it coming and make the kick.
But yeah, Debo definitely he knows. You see the way he threw his hands on his helmet and just kind of knowing like probably should have been a touchdown.
Yeah,
that catch.
Yeah,
and just to know this whole week. He got community noted for
community notes.
Yes, because he said that someone said that he was struggling, and he was like, "I'm not struggling. Like I'm just not getting
community notes." He has been struggling.
He leads the team in drops, and leads the teams in like attempts or passes, and for him to have that type of game, I know like it sucks. Like
that's just the thing that worries me about the Niners. Like. None of their stars are trending in the right way. You know, I think Kittle's still steady.
Yeah.
And by the way, Cam Curl was battling his ass off with Kittle last night. But I still think, like, there were points in this game where I would have force-fed him the rock a little bit more, got him on a backer, and took the profit. I thought the Purdy interception was so wasteful. Not only was it a bad throw, he stared it down, and he's on the same page with his wide receiver, but it's second down, is it not?
Yes.
It's second and long. Why are we taking shots to set up a 3rd and 10? Okay, just keep moving the ball down the field.
You have the check
and
down
score with under 2 minutes to go,
Yeah.
and make the Rams take the ball and score a touchdown.
And then he gave us the hands-on helmet I screwed up after the throw.
But it's bad game management, and that's another thing is like Kyle hadn't had the best year. Like, so the rack, that's what they used to live off. The rack's not there. There are injuries. No, and I get it. Like, they have injuries, but
does Christian McCaffrey want to keep playing football? Trent Williams will be 37 next year. It's
getting to be scary hours. And then you're talking about paying a quarterback.
Correct.
Who I still think is a good player, but it's impossible to ignore the context with which I've come about that. I've arrived at that hypothesis that he's a good player. Like, so now we're seeing them be strained a little bit, and this is what they look like. And it's one of the reasons, again, like, I'll take a little victory lap on this thing. I did not have them winning the West because the attrition is unimaginable. The Patriots winning year after year, having gone into February or late January, is nothing short of remarkable. That's what makes Bill the GOAT. That's what makes Tom Brady the GOAT. That's what makes me think about, and now Mahomes and Kansas City's, they're on the same kind of run. Can they continue to do it? It is so rare to have a franchise get there. And on top of it, to lose as many times as they've lost, the attrition of that, and now you're getting things like Nick Bosa at the end of the game or guys on the team saying, hey, like, we'll find out who wants to be here. Like, it's an interesting time in San Francisco. And for the Rams, I'm so impressed with how – I'm perpetually impressed with Sean McVay. I mean, think about it, the game on the line, 3rd and 4, his use of motion, and a lot of this is on San Francisco. You got 2 guys running with the motion. But his use of motion, you go back and watch the way they played the Bills last week, they're always doing something with that little motion. It could be just a little adjustment that doesn't appear to be a man zone indicator or anything. But they're doing things in the run game on the backside. They're doing things, putting people in stacks and adjusting leverage. And they're always up to something. Sean McVay is always up to something. And I got to commend the resolve of this team. They won a game 44-42 last week. 4 days later, they win a game where there's not a touchdown scored. They're finding different ways to win, which is really impressive. And the questions we had about the defense, I'm not saying they're answered, but this is a team that should probably be in the dance. And as a look ahead for everybody here, I had an interesting concept this week, which is let's formulate an alternative playoff scenario in the NFL that mirrors a little bit the college football playoff. So some combination of at-large bids, throwing the conference out the window a little bit, and we'll see what the guys chose, but we're going to do that after the game breakdowns. The Rams, for me, spoiler alert, are in the dance. And they're one of those teams that, like, I throw the record out, and if the Rams get in the dance, and a lot of people, I mean, this isn't a hot take, like, no one wants to see the Rams. There's a couple teams that match up pretty decently with them. But for the most part, the Rams are not a team that the other teams in the NFC are like, yeah, rooting for at the end of the year.
They're 7-2 since their bye in Week 6.
I mean, they're surging for sure. And so when you got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, who I think is a Hall of Fame guy, and you've got one of the best coaches in the league, you're going to have a shot. That helps. I mean, look what Kansas City is able to do with, and I've been very critical of the roster at large this year and the way they played football, but they're 11-1. Now, you can say, and I would, that they're not as good as their record, but when you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you got a shot. And you add to that Spagnuolo and all that, but I gotta. Shula did a nice job last night.
And this is the year after they might have lost one of the greatest football players of all time in Aaron Donald.
That's right.
And they had a great draft to surround a guy like Kobe Turner, who played really well last night.
Yep.
So. Very impressive.
And, if there were ever a time that Aaron Donald wanted to come back, I think that time is up. So I don't think to answer the question of does Aaron Donald want to play again, this would have been the time.
Mm-hmm.
This team, you add Aaron Donald to this mix,
Yeah.
they're going to be right back where they were last year, maybe better up front, for sure better up front last year. So, but when you don't have Christian McCaffrey in the game, you can't take advantage of some of the linebacker deficiencies you have for the Rams. And those backers have played better. Don't get me wrong. But, Garendo, while very fast, an exciting player, he doesn't open the playbook the way that I think even Jordan Mason does.
Mm-hmm.
So, tough one for them.
We talked about it on Monday, but does last night change anything? The room is kind of split, but does it change anything in the Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy conversation we had?
I think I do think Sam's better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to put Brock down.
Right.
I've been on the Sam train for a year. I think if you give him an opportunity, and if Brock Purdy had gotten drafted to the Jets, how do you think that goes?
Wouldn't
And I think that's just a narrative on like quarterbacks in context. I'm not taking a shot at Brock. Again, I haven't said don't pay Brock.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brock's playing to cement his opportunity to get paid. Like down the stretch here, if you want to watch the Niners, I don't think it's insignificant how Brock plays. And I've seen some people get killed over the take that maybe they shouldn't pay Brock Purdy. I think we got to be a little bit less reactive about quarterback takes, because I don't think it's an intellectually dishonest take. If somebody has that take that maybe it's not a foregone conclusion that you pay the guy, especially considering they've been able to get to the Super Bowl with the likes of Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So, I'm not going to kill somebody for making that take. I think it'll be an interesting discussion come the offseason. And certainly I want to see Brock thrive or not thrive with an imperfect cast of characters down the stretch here. So
No doubt.
that's all I've got to say about that.
We need to add that to the
Yeah, for
number.
sure.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
The biggest game this Sunday, Lions and Bills in Detroit.
Listen,
Part one.
right. Maybe part one. Detroit and Buffalo, right? We talk about this matchup, and the teams are so good now, and they've been good long enough that I think at least some people aren't immediately thinking, oh, these two beleaguered franchises where fans have been waiting a long time. But that's kind of what it is. And like to think about that it could be a Super Bowl preview, I would love to see this Super Bowl, but somebody would have to lose, which is like maybe I wouldn't love to see this Super Bowl, because if somebody lost a Super Bowl out of these two teams, I don't know what would happen. You look at the fan bases, I think what's so interesting is you just put them in the same bucket, and they are in the same bucket, but they're a little bit different. Like Bills fans, the way I read them, they're a lot of fun, right? Like Bills fans are fun. And I think some of the self-deprecation leads to that, like going through what they went through in the 90s. You got to have fun. You have no choice but to have fun. But it was also fun to root for those teams. Like they were there, they were good, they just didn't win one, and the losses had to be devastating, but they were there, and they have a culture. They have Hall of Famers. Jim Kelly still hangs out in Buffalo. Like Buffalo is like, it's a net positive to play for the Bills, although they had that heartbreak in the 90s. And they have Josh Allen, and they've been knocking on the door for a little bit. But Lions fans, I think it's a whole different thing. The state of Michigan's pretty edgy anyways. Like if anybody knows somebody from Michigan, that person's edgy. Now, I don't know how much that is a product of the decentralization of the automotive industry coinciding directly with the fall of the Lions after the 50s. But like it had to be tough to be a Lions fan growing up. And like imagine never having been to a Super Bowl, let alone an NFC championship, having won one playoff game, I believe it is, just one. They went 0-16. I did the math, and maybe I fucked the math up, so don't quote me, but from 96 to 2010, I think they won 75 games. It's like 5 games a year, right?
Yeah.
So not very good. That's what you've lived through if you've been a Lions fan. Some Lions fans are like, why are you reading my record here? Okay, but I'm going to get there. 2 players retired early. Your best 2 players retired early. One just started coming back. The other one won a Super Bowl in L.A. Okay, so that's your best 3 players. 2 of them said, fuck this, I can't do it anymore. The other one left, one in L.A. You beat them in the playoffs, but that doesn't make things all right, right? And that stadium's going to be full of people this weekend who have been through that, which is why I don't think we make a big enough deal about Detroit's home field advantage. Like, I think this is going to be a really tough place to play this weekend. It always is. And then the personality of the Lions. You talk about what are the keys to the game for the Bills. I'll get down to one. You can be as bad as you want on defense, but Dan's going to go on 4th down. So how are you in the money down situations? This is really interesting to me. Lions are known to be pretty good on 4th down, right? They have the personnel for it. They're aggressive. They're not afraid to do it. They're 80% at home on 4th down. That's a big difference. They're like 42 or something on the road. That's wild. That's not like just by chance. When they have you in their house, it feels like, hey, you're in our world, motherfucker.
Yep.
And like, there's nothing you can do to stop this train. And obviously on 4th and 2, it's a lot quieter at home. Detroit Lions fans have high football IQs, right? They know you can't make noise. They can get in their operation. But I also think it's something about playing at Ford Field. And so it's a really tough situation to walk in through for Bills fans who are probably scared to death of how this defense looks, because at different junctures this year, when you play a good team like the Ravens, right? Or, you played last week the Rams. Like, you're giving up a lot of yardage. You're giving up yardage on the ground. Last week, the zones were expanding. Matt was picking you apart. Play action was working. I think this is the part of the game for me that it's going to come down to, is like, how are the guys in the back end? How are their eyes? Because you got a couple guys who might be down. Nolan, give me the DBs that are down as it stands today for the Bills.
Yeah, so Rasul Douglas and Taylor Rapp have not practiced, and then DeMar Hamlin actually popped up on the injury report yesterday with a back / ribs issue. So
I don't know, guys. Like, for me, if I were Babbage and I were McDermott, I thank the good Lord that I am not them this week, I'm thinking we got to commit a lot of bodies to the run game, right? Like, the boxes are going to be loaded. When in doubt, we're going to be in base. But I think that's dangerous. I think it's dangerous because if you watch the tape last week, the Rams were able to get on the perimeter. And the Lions are going to be able to get on the perimeter and then some. You think about the Rams getting on perimeter, they're going to run stretch. They're going to get the ball out to Puka on a screen. They're going to get it out there right now. Like, you got to worry about Jamison Williams on a jet sweep. You got to worry about Jahmyr Gibbs a whole bunch of ways. You got to worry about the run game traditionally. And then you have to worry about the play action that comes off it. So I really do worry about, and I think it comes down to this, if they commit bodies to stop the run, when Detroit gets into play action, can you handle those crossers and all that traffic crossing your face? As a backer, as a second-level defender, you got to have good eyes, right? And I think ultimately, if I had to choose, and I was Sean McDermott, I would choose to be aggressive and find a way on early downs to get them behind the sticks. I know it's easier said than done, but I would bring pressure. And I'll be damned if the Lions hit some big plays. No big deal, because they were going to take 6 minutes to get there anyways. The Bills like to sit in too high. There's not going to be a lot of bodies in the run game sometimes, and they're light in the ass, generally, on defense. This is a bad matchup for their defense. So I will be very impressed if Sean McDermott finds a way to keep the points down. And I think one of the ways you could do that is early in the game, bringing pressure, getting them behind the sticks on early downs. And if they hit a big chunk, let them hit a big chunk. I'd rather that than them going 8 minutes and Josh just sitting there on the bench getting cold.
Now, did you take Detroit -2.5 on the gambling show?
I did not take Detroit -2.5. What I took was the Bills over team total. Now, it could be 40-28, but the Bills are going to score 28 points. The Bills are going to be able to move the football. I really do think that.
I have a $10 futures bet for this to be the Super Bowl.
Okay. How does that pay? How does that
win
pay?
500.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Good bet.
Yeah.
It's a good bet. It's a good bet. I love the gambling talk sprinkled in here because we've already done our show. That'll be out Saturday. But here's what I think is also something people aren't talking about. The Bills playing a wire-to-wire game last week that kind of like, again, I said it like 86 points. Like that can really drain a defense. It can drain the offense. You're straining the whole game. The passing game takes a lot out of the skill guys. And on Thursday, there was so much damn snow in Buffalo that they had to cancel practice. So they were doing like remote work. And that kind of scares me. It does get guys' legs back. There are times in the year where I'm like, hey, man, I really don't need to see what third down has like. Let me just sit down for a day. But I'm only saying that as a guy in the front.
Yeah.
Thursday is a third down day in the NFL. And it's important people realize a lot of your nickel stuff,
yes,
a lot of your passing down stuff is installed on Thursday.
At least for the D-line.
But DBs too.
Yeah.
Your team period nickel, team period or nickel third down, 2-minute, things like that. I kind of worry about the work that they weren't able to get done there and kind of wonder if that's going to outweigh the fresh legs effect of not practicing Thursday.
But here's the thing, too. Like, if you're not practicing or if you're not able to go to the facility, like, a lot of the big-time guys, you probably have some sort of recovery stuff at your house.
Oh, no question.
But not everybody has that. So, like, if you can't get to the facility – like how good is that day off?
Treatment.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, you know what I mean?
How good is that day off if maybe you're a guy that's like, hey, like I have no way to really get to the cold tub or the
that's a good point.
Normatex or
but
whatever.
I just think about guys that played a lot of snaps that might not be on the report.
Yep.
And that are saying,
you need some rest.
Hey, I'm just going to chill out today.
Yeah.
We'll get on Zoom. We'll talk about things we need to talk about. But Thursday is a big day for install. And so to get the install without getting the reps, like this practice, whatever they're doing today is a huge deal, which puts a strain on the coaches. It puts a strain on a team that's going to be traveling tomorrow morning, right, presumably to Detroit. That does make a big difference. So they are up against it. The defense is up against it. You think about the things that, sure, Detroit might say, hey, Ben Johnson might be saying, hey, yeah, it sounds good, Chris. Like, we'll hit the perimeter, but we also might just be able to cave these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to win up front. You're facing the best offensive line in the league. You haven't had a consistent Batman for that group up front. You've got, some Robins, and Von Miller is still Von Miller. He's older. I know that for a fact he takes it personal that a lot of people have thought about this installation of Von Miller as washed or an afterthought.
Yeah.
This is the type of game where you can go a long way in cementing the fact that you're not done if you can win some rushes. And I actually do think he might win a few rushes over there. As good as Penei Sewell is, some of the movement stuff that he can give him can cause some problems. So guy like Ed Oliver's got to hang in there. These guys can't get knocked out of their gap on front side run. If you're the backside tackle, front side run, one cut downhill, you get nudged, you get caved out of that backside A, it goes downhill. Like when Detroit gets downhill, it can be over in a heartbeat. You want to make them earn it on the ground, and in the pass game, I think you want to be aggressive and make them beat you. Make Jared Goff beat you. Yeah. And he's been playing lights out. So I think offensively the big matchup for the Bills is you got to take advantage of the Meek Robertson matchup with Khalil Shakir, who's been a great slot guy for him. You talk about Cole Beasley back in the day, what he did for Josh Allen. This guy does even more. And the guys outside, I would be taking shots, not on 2nd and 10, my biggest pet peeve in the world, but I would be taking the occasional shot. They were in like third and they were in some long down and distances last week against the Rams and got out of it. You can get out of it in one play against the Lions because these guys are handsy outside. So I would test these guys outside. The question for me is, with Detroit getting guys back healthy, Reeder, and our guy, Aleem McNeil, it's going to be hard to run the ball.
Levi.
Yeah. It's going to be Pascal. It's going to be harder to run the ball than you might have thought a week ago. And so this is definitely one of those games where Josh got to put the cape on. They're going to play some man coverage. You know what happens when they play man coverage? Their backs are turned to the quarterback. And that big son of a bitch, that big Clydesdale, needs to get galloping, man, and eating up green grass. I think he can do it, but you're going to have special play out of him. And one more thing. If Decker comes back, does it look like Decker's coming back? He's trying.
Yeah, he's trending that way.
we should a big tip of the cap to Skipper for holding up. You know, I did see the Lions like put out like a Pro Bowl vote Skipper thing, and I was like, all right, that's a bit rich, but we definitely need to give Skipper some love for what he did without Decker in the lineup, because they had to weather that storm and he helped them.
Can I talk to you about psychology for a second?
Let's talk about it.
It's week 15, and I think that's when your eyes can start to wander to the rest of the schedule, especially when you're just coming off of Kansas City, San Francisco, at LA, now at Detroit, and what you finish with when you're Buffalo is Pats home, Jets home, at Pats, followed by a home playoff game. You're about to be home for a month, and you're probably locked into that 2 or the 3. Kansas City's 2 games clear of you.
Yeah.
Whereas Detroit has to keep the pedal to the metal with Philly just a game back.
They do.
So, you can't go half-ass in the NFL, but if you're picking who the game means more for, it might be Detroit.
I think Buffalo has to – I've just been in these locker rooms where, there is the, hey, guys, let's win this fucking game and think about how good the reward's going to be. Mm-hmm. Look at the schedule down the stretch, and we can sit there and watch Kansas City and see if they falter, because they could.
Yeah.
That's the type of team that could. They're more than one game back. It would take more than just one hiccup. But I look at Buffalo, and while I agree with you, I think Buffalo's still going to be. It's hard to look ahead of this game. This game is enormous, and I think losing to LA was probably the best thing that could have happened to them. Honestly,
but to your point, I think you're right. They're going to be tired after 80 some odd points.
No question. But the Rams defense didn't look tired last night, so maybe I'm wrong on that thing. I think they're going to be tired. But how tired is Detroit? They've been. You got to think about Detroit. We're going to get into this in seeding the teams in this green light playoff bracket. Detroit's fucking plus 189 point differential. They've been throttling teams. They've been beating everybody. They've had guys down. They've had to win with people on defense that, quite frankly, I just didn't expect them to have to win with. And that takes a toll, too. Being up every week, because they are up every week. I kind of wonder, and we talk about, like, some of these blowouts, guys not coming out of games for them, like Jacksonville late. Like, they got guys in late in the game. That Green Bay game was a barn burner. Now, granted, they've had some time. But...
And that's when it's nice to walk into a stadium like Ford Field.
No question.
Not like you're walking into SoFi where you don't have that home field advantage.
No question. Hey, am I pulling for the Bills? Bills Mafia? Yeah, they need it more than the damn Lions do. I mean, to your point, maybe the Lions need it more than them. But coming off that loss, it just feels like the cards are stacked against this defense. I have not been impressed with the defense at different turns this year. And this is one of those games that kind of worry. But you do have Taron Johnson.
Bad urologist.
Yeah, I know. That's your thing. Taron Johnson on Amon-Ra St. Brown, if we can get that matchup, is going to be a lot of fun. And, like, I don't know, then you need Tim Patrick to win. You need Sam Laporta to win. You need these other guys to win. And they have. Tim Patrick's done a great job.
TP Streets.
Laporta's had kind of a quiet year relative to last year. Maybe this is a game where he kind of goes off. I don't know. This game's gonna be incredible. It sucks that we have to split screen this game with the next game that I'm talking about.
Battle of Pennsylvania.
Should we start? Sorry, guys, I'm sick. Nobody gives a fuck. Hey,
sorry.
No,
sorry to hear about your.
Thank you.
Sick.
I appreciate it, but I do want to say we should talk about the AJ and Jalen thing to start off, because I think this kind of contextualizes the whole thing. I saw Jordan Mailata today at the podium, and he said, I didn't start the rumor, mate. It's a rumor, and we're moving on. And Jordan Mailata is a fun guy. He laughs a lot. He's fun at the podium. He's personable. He was even personable in this little clip I saw, but make no mistake about it, you could tell he was tired talking about the AJ and Jalen thing, and you could tell that some tough conversations were had. How it got there, I'm not in the locker room. If it's true or not that they were friends, aren't friends, I'm not in the locker room. Would you rather AJ not have said what he said last week? Would you rather BG not have overshared on a radio show this week? He absolutely didn't have to do that. Absolutely. You'd rather none of this stuff came out. But I'm going to sell you some hope if you're an Eagles fan. Sometimes things fester and they don't get taken care of until everybody gets fucking embarrassed. And I think everybody in the building was probably embarrassed this week on a level. And, you know, especially those two. Work it the fuck out. Like, right now. And I think that's what it being out does. If it were not out this week, and I don't like how it came out, then we never take care of it. But I have a feeling watching Jordan Mailata talk to the media this week that there were some very hard conversations, albeit forced, but they had to be had. And I think they were had. And to the Jalen Hurts at large conversation, I think he's got to play better. I think some people that, you know, when it comes to a quarterback, and I'm guilty of this too, when I have a take on a quarterback, it's hard for me to back off it. You know, I'm a human being. I'm not, you know, I know a lot of ball, but I'm a human being just like everybody in this chat. And so I have human emotions. I have confirmation biases. There's a lot of fans in the Philadelphia fan base that are like, no, the guy's beyond reproach. He went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That doesn't mean anything. Carson Wentz was an MVP a couple years. I mean, he was a candidate a couple years before they said, hey, see you later. We like this kid from college. So Jalen needs to perform well, not only for his future in Philadelphia, but also because they have the best roster in the league. The other 21 guys, if I stack that roster up, you take the quarterbacks out of the scenario, who's better? Who's got a better roster? I'll wait. In the chat, I'll wait. I'll give you 10 seconds. Who's got a better roster than the Eagles? And this isn't homerism.
All of these recent drafts, it's been like, that guy fell to them.
I know. And even the guys that started slow are coming around. Mm-hmm. You had your doubts about Nakobe Dean. He's coming around. You know, the two guys they hit on this year, you know, Jordan Davis, people make a big deal about the stats. Jordan Davis he's there for a reason. He's disruptive. Jalen Carter, you had people doubting his potential, which is endless, as early as like a month or two ago. Oh, guess what? Now the narratives have caught up, and he's all of a sudden a great player. Things are working out for all the guys that play positions on the Philadelphia Eagles. They bring in Saquon Barkley. They got 2 number 1 wide receivers. They have the best offensive line in the league. They have a defensive line that's ascending. They have a linebacker room that features a guy that, although I will not bite, has been compared to the Luke Kuechly DPOY year. Don't send me that graphic. I love Zach Bond. Don't send me that fucking graphic. His stats are similar. Don't send me that graphic. The linebacking core is really good, right? You got one of the better nickel corners in the league, and he was just born. You got a corner outside that is my favorite kind of corner to watch. You don't have to watch him. You don't see him the whole game. How many replays with Quinyon Mitchell do you see that aren't good replays? So everything has broken right for this roster, and credit to Howie Roseman, and they've got some great assistant coaches. The quarterback has to play well. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure on Jalen. And I think this is the type of week coming off the performance last week where it would really help him to have I don't need them to score 30. I don't think this is a high-scoring game. Personally, I think the under would be my play if I had to. Because on the other side of the ball, and I don't want to skip right to the other side of the ball, but I actually think the Eagles are going to do a pretty good job against these guys. You think about them winning, living and dying off the moon ball, living and dying off of shots. Vic Fangio is going to make you earn it. And I think they've done a good job in the run game. I like the matchups up front for the D-line. So this is going to be a lower scoring game if I had to guess. I could be dead wrong. So it's going to come down to offensively, can Jalen make the throws? And Saquon and that front against that Pittsburgh defensive front, this is must-see TV if you like big guys. I mean, must-see TV. There's not going to be a better defensive line, offensive line matchup unless we see this thing again in the Super Bowl. Cam Hayward's playing outstanding. The edges, they're back, right? Highsmith's back. TJ Watt, you're going to get him on lane. You're gonna get Highsmith on. By the way, I expect Lane to win that matchup. You're gonna get Highsmith on Mailata. You're gonna get Cam Hayward on Dickerson. You're gonna get those fast backers. That's one thing they cleaned up this year. The kid from NC State, he can really roll. Cam Jurgens out in space. It's gonna be cinema watching the Eagles offense and their front against this front. But I think you love the matchup with A.J. Brown, no matter who it is. Even with Joey Porter Jr., I like that matchup. And I think Devontae Smith is an absolute matchup you have to win. This is going to be a hell of a game. But Fran Duffy wrote an article earlier this week. Eagles fans know Fran Duffy. I got to pull it up. He actually messaged me this thing. He was like, I heard you talking about, Jalen Hurts, and the longer the down goes, the less you like him. And that's been a thing that I've been on, is like, the longer the down goes with Jalen Hurts, the worse I feel as somebody on the Eagles side.
Leads the NFL over the last month with 22% of his dropbacks lasting 4+ seconds.
He's taken too long.
And half of those plays result in a throwaway sack or scramble.
He's taken too long, and what happens the longer the down goes is not good. It's like when you play the Ravens, the longer Lamar is back there, if I'm a fan of the other team, I am puckered up. Mm-hmm. I'm like, he's going to kill us in about a half a second or 4 seconds. Jalen, the longer he goes, I'm like, here comes a pick, rolling right. Here comes, a sack, something ill-advised. I want him to be decisive. When he's decisive, he's damn good. So when you talk about why is he so polarized, it's because it's like two guys in there. The guy that gets rid of the ball, the guy that has quick options that aren't all RPOs, the guy that takes off running, the guy that can hit deep balls outside the numbers as good as anybody, play to his strengths. We don't need him back there baking a fucking cake. So I just want to pull up this Fran Duffy deal. This is wild.
Some votes in the chat for the Lions on the roster discussion.
I don't think so. I don't think because you take the Eagles' offensive line, you take you take Philly's wide receivers. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, but you take the weapons outside. Do you like David Montgomery and Gibbs better than Saquon?
Equal.
Okay. Defense. You like the defensive line?
Aiden's got to be healthy.
Okay. Well, he's not.
Yeah.
So who do you like better?
Right now, Philly. Yeah.
Okay. Whose backers do you like better?
Eagles.
Whose secondary do you like better?
Philly.
Yeah. They got the best roster in the league, dog. And so a lot is going to fall on the quarterback. But go read Fran Duffy's piece that he came out with this week. I mean, it's along the lines of what you're saying, which is not good. It's just not good. It's not good.
A throwaway can be a good play.
The EPA per dropback is minus 0.72 on 4-second downs.
Yep.
Not good. So it's the worst in the league, I think. It's just not good. We got to get rid of the ball. So that, and Pickens being down really helps. I talked about that earlier. That's a big deal. Steelers live off the big play, make them earn it. They haven't been great in the red zone until recently, right? Maybe some of those issues are still there. You're not going to find out if he's hitting moon balls on you.
No doubt about it.
Mike Tomlin is 64-35-4 against the spread as the underdog. Most profitable in the last 20 years.
And that's a lot of points. Doesn't that worry you? Doesn't that worry you if you're a Pittsburgh fan? Why is it so many points? I guess at home, Philly's going to automatically lay 3. So we're ending up with, a neutral site 2.5 point line. That sounds about right, I guess.
And no Pickens.
So it's going to be an interesting one. And for Pittsburgh, they play Baltimore next week. You talk about like looking ahead, and they got 3 games in 10 days, I think. This stretch coming up is tough for them. So
Philly, Baltimore, KC.
Yeah.
And they get a break with Cincy.
If they're going to win the game, they have to be able to run the ball, and Freiermuth has to have a big day, in my opinion. And Russell Wilson, I rushed him for years. What's the number one thing you have to do when you rush Russell Wilson? Anybody know?
Bring him to the ground.
Okay.
Not fall for the...
Wrong.
Force him to the right.
No, wrong.
Contain.
middle pressure. Middle pressure. Middle pressure against Russell Wilson has him bailing to 11 yards. You know, and I do think the Eagles' edges can get there if the drop target's not tight. And I think like where you like the matchups, I do like the matchups inside. Middle pressure is non-negotiable. Now, some of the things y'all are talking about too is like you have to kind of rush as an edge guy with the fact in mind that he's going to bail and twirl and and do all those things a little bit different than Mahomes, but like the same negotiable drop target. And by drop target, I mean where the quarterback settles, you know, and a lot of the time we talk about it as defensive linemen. Drop target, you know, guy will get a sack on like a 12-yard drop target play and everybody goes nuts. Well, that's on the quarterback. You know, Tom Brady, the reason he was so hard to sack, not only did he get the ball out, but he climbed the pocket consistently. So Russ will give you some plays, especially if you cave that middle of the pocket where he's going to have a hard time seeing. And he's gonna revert to, hey, how do I wheel out of this thing? And if you run right in Josh Sweat, run right in Nolan Smith, that's the way you rush this guy. You got to cage him.
71 points last 2 weeks for Steelers.
I think it slows down this week a bit.
The Steelers and Ravens, you mentioned the Steelers' upcoming schedule. The Ravens, they have New York this week, and then, as you mentioned, Pittsburgh. They could be tied 10-5 at the top of the AFC North going into Week 17.
Wow.
Which is wild.
You know, and we knew Pittsburgh was going to have a tough run the second half of the season, but you know, this is where having a veteran coach really helps late in the year,
and a veteran QB.
Veteran QB as well.
His everything,
no question.
Everything he had.
Can we get Ravens division odds at some point by the end of the show?
Sure. Yeah. Hit us.
And real fast, we'll go to Bucks Chargers.
Yeah.
And then hear Ravens division odds. But Bucks Chargers, a sneaky playoff implication.
That's gonna be a hell of a game. I think there's. I like Tampa. I gave out Tampa. I think you run the ball on the Chargers for sure. I think you get some. I think you get some yardage inside. I think Mike Evans wins his matchup outside. And you know, one thing that Nolan brought up was, you know, Mike Evans leaving doesn't help, but it does help those wideouts. You know, you think about when the lead dog is out, other guys have to get dependent on. It improves the rapport with Baker and guys like McMillan and all these guys. Like, you don't anticipate them having to carry a load like that. When they had Godwin and Evans, I thought they were one of the best teams in the league the way they were playing. I mean, they had the Ravens on the ropes on was it Monday night, and then both those guys get hurt, and it felt like the season's probably over. They've scratched and clawed their way back into this thing, and Atlanta's done nothing to help themselves. Bucks have to be playing with a lot of juice right now, you know, and this is one of those games where, and all of them are going to be like this for the Bucks the rest of the way, which is kind of empowering. Gas pedal, as you put it, mate. You know, it's like, you know, you got to win them all. Let's go win them all. I look forward to this one. The thing that stood out to me looking at the Bucks is like they have made a big jump, and maybe Bucks fans can tell me why. The pressure rate has been number one in the league since week 9. They've been second in defending the run since that point as well. I know Kancey came back like week 6 or 7. You know, they did have the Winfield injury. They're banged up on the back end as it is right now. Nolan, who's out for them?
Yeah, so Winfield, he hasn't practiced this week, dealing with a knee. Christian Ezian also hasn't practiced this week, and then KJ Britt, Mike Edwards both missed last week, and they haven't practiced this week either.
No question. Now, the other thing for the Chargers, hit me with their injuries because Disley, Ladd, like the passing game. Can you expect Quentin Johnson? I was getting mixed up with Quentin Jefferson, who probably can't catch very well. But do you expect him to have another like really solid game in a row? Like,
nah.
You know? And so the reason I'm on the Bucks is the run game, and I just don't see.
Bucky's dinged as well. Probably
Bucky's dinged, but I think he's going to be okay. I think in a game like this, you shoot them up and you go, I just like the Bucs here, man. I just do. I think especially with them catching 3, this is going to be a hell of a ball game, and both teams are going to be playing for their playoff lives. What are the implications, Matt Nackey?
Well, it's big for both teams. If Tampa wins, they keep pace above Atlanta because they don't have the tiebreaker against Atlanta, so they have to have 1 game lead over them. And for the Chargers, it's all about just a little bit of playoff seeding, like trying to get the 5 seed or the 6 seed, and just making sure you don't lose out and let somebody like Indianapolis come in and ruin the party.
So it's a sneaky good game, man. I think this one, the implications are huge. And for the Bucs, you're hunting that. I mean, when's the last time they won like a big one that where you felt like, I feel good about winning this game? Like, it was a quality opponent.
The Bucs?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's been 3 straight weeks of Panthers, Raiders, Giants.
Probably week 4 against the Eagles, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
They did beat Detroit in week 2.
It's been a while.
But
This is a game that they need, and they need to win it. They need to win it. They need to show themselves that, going into the playoffs, that we can beat another playoff team, and I think they can. But Herbert, let's say this. Watching Herbert this year, he has done a really good job, period, but a really good job of not turning the ball over when a lot of guys would probably force the ball into bad situations because of the lack of firepower they have. And some of these games, they're not really scoring and that sort of thing. I think it's a big credit to Greg Roman. It's a big credit to Justin Herbert. And for Harbaugh, level setting expectations and saying, hey, this year we might not win sexy. You might not win sexy. But we're going to be bought in. We're going to avoid turning the football over, not in the passing game. Again, with Disley and maybe McConkey down, I just worry about, and I'm not impressed with their run game as of late. I'm just not. For a group that in the beginning of the season we were like, 10 yards a pop, Gus Edwards or whatever, J.K. Dobbins. It's not the same. And, like Todd Bowles is going to have something for that ass.
I think J.K. Dobbins made it clear that he's a cut above the rest and put on IR 2 weeks ago. That was a significant loss.
Huge loss. But I was not impressed. I just have not been as impressed the second half of the season with their run game. And another thing is, Gedeke got to win his matchup. Whoever it is. I don't know if Bosa is going to be up, but you definitely going to have to deal with Khalil Mack. So one to look at there for sure. But the Evans matchup, if you can get the ball to Mike Evans, it could be like a feed Mike Evans day.
And you mentioned Jalen McMillan and the supporting wide receivers for the Bucs. 2 touchdowns last week. That's a guy that you get Mike Evans to get you down the field and look for the McMillan matchup in the red zone.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I think I'm really impressed with Baker. I'm really impressed with Liam Cohen. And I think the wide receivers have been scrappy. I think this whole team has had to go through so many different phases this year. Mm-hmm. Where they got to win different ways and without certain guys. And so I think they're hardened, but they need a win against a quality opponent. Haven't had one in a while, especially for the committee later on. We're talking about the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The green light committee, you need quality wins.
And these are, because you mentioned Bucky Irving as well, it's kind of opposite running games because of the Chargers lost their lead back. The Bucs have their lead back injured, but the Bucs at least have Rashad White.
Yep.
2 touchdowns last week.
And Sean Tucker. Syracuse.
The other game, Colts Broncos, your game. Is this our MRP or what are we doing? Oh, we're doing MRP.
Dolphins
Texans. We'll get to that in a second. Maybe not the game of the week, but we haven't really done an MRP with that most random player. Mm-hmm. All right, Colts Broncos. Obviously, a huge game for the Broncos, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
an even
Colts,
bigger game for the Colts.
Yeah,
I mean, if they lose this game,
they're cooked if they lose.
Yeah, this is a playoff game for them.
The Colts have a 66% chance to reach the postseason with a win, 11% chance with the loss. Broncos 89% with a win and 42% with a loss.
This would be the kind of win that Anthony Rich could really hang his hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're the Broncos, you want to control the football game. So you want to come out early, and I think there's going to be yardage to have against these guys. The Colts have struggled to stop the run. I'm really excited to see those interior matchups.
Yeah, and that it doesn't matter much because the Broncos don't have a rush game.
No, they don't
at all.
They don't, and so to me, it's going to be Bo Nix on the move.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be Bo Nix. How well can you beat zone coverage?
Yep.
Like Indy's kind of like what they're going to run. You know who they are week to week. I think Sean Payton. That's a real big advantage. Sean Payton calling plays.
Yep.
Indy's kind of vanilla.
Yep.
And I think if they get out to a lead, it definitely that's not the way Indy wants to play. I'll just put it that way.
Yep.
I mean, where you got to rely on passing the football for much of the game. That's not what they want to do. I think Denver's real stingy, tough to run on. But the one thing about the back out of the backfield in the pass game is yards can be had against the Broncos if you get them in matchups with the linebackers.
Yes.
If you get running backs in the matchups with linebackers. And I think another thing is, and maybe a bigger deal than people realize, I feel like when Riley Moss is out, it's a totally different defense.
I mean, yeah, the freaking Jerry Jeudy went for about 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
But it had 2,000
Yep.
against Levi Wallace. But Chris, 3 names to look out for. Chris Abrams-Drain. He's the backup cornerback. He came in for a couple plays for Levi Wallace and had him locked up
Nice.
on like 2 plays.
On 2 plays. Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
And by the way, in this game, like NFL Network, I just saw the graphic where they do the picks. It's 10 across the board, Broncos.
I know that. I saw that. I
God.
scared. I was like, hey.
It's 10 for 10 Broncos.
You have
Yeah.
to bet the Colts then.
Don't you?
Yeah.
5th in rush defense EPA, the Broncos.
No, I know. This is one of those games, though. You talk about like who's hungry, I mean, the Broncos should be hungry. They're not in by any stretch of the imagination yet, but the Colts are back against the wall, man.
Yep.
And I think it's gonna be fun to see that pass rush try to get Anthony Richardson down. I mean, that's a lot of good rushers out on the field. Those guys.
I'm hedging Anthony Richardson bets this weekend.
How so?
I just feel like if like you're talking about, if they're gonna win this game, it's gonna be him. Like I really wish on BetMGM we can bet plus 3 anytime touchdowns.
Yeah.
I don't know what the odds would be on that, but I feel like Anthony Richardson's just gonna be like running the ball, and in the red zone, I feel like that's their best option.
He's a great red zone weapon, man.
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure. It's hard to account for the quarterback, and
No
like when
question.
you're big and strong and you think you have him tackled,
He
can
falls forward for 8 feet.
He can drag you a
9
few
feet.
yards,
Yeah.
and when you're in the red zone, like those few yards
No
are
question.
valuable.
No question.
And you're hedging against your Broncos win total is what you're saying, right? 'Cause
Yes.
You need the Broncos
Yeah.
to win this weekend to hit that big bet.
And
Yeah. And if the aliens come down and zap us, you're not gonna see that money at all.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
No.
as long as it's after this weekend, because I'll rather get zapped after my 37th birthday.
Yeah.
After.
Hey, by the way, happy
tomorrow,
birthday,
happy
bro.
birthday.
After.
I was
Yeah.
gonna do that off the top of the show,
Yeah.
but fucking aliens made me forget. Seriously, 37.
37, man.
Do you know what time of day you were born?
I believe in the morning.
Okay.
Could ask
All
my mom. I think like around like.
So what's your
10 a.m.
horoscope then?
Sagittarius.
You're a Sag,
Yes, sir.
super Saggy.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Shout out Garrett Bowles.
Oh
Big
yeah, got
payday.
paid. Good for him.
Bronco for
Now,
life,
here's
baby.
a guy that suffered through a lot of bad football, and he's getting to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
My second favorite Broncos soundbite is him being asked in the locker room. I think this is after the 2021 or 2022 season when they like sum up your Broncos career, and he's like, "Shit,
Yeah.
shit, it's shit."
What's your favorite thing to do in Denver? Going out to eat. So,
Shout out Dennis Clifford.
is that his name?
Yeah, Boston College guy.
Really good. Good recall.
Yeah,
How the fuck do you know his name?
every once in a while.
It's crazy. Dennis Clifford. Okay, the rest of the games. There's a few more good ones, man. There's a few. Miami, Houston, just rounding this thing up. I think Texans coming off a bye. That's the biggest like fly on the wall this week. Is what have y'all been up to? Because there was a lot to fix. I said prior they need to have some like real closed door meetings. Some meetings where maybe not everybody comes out,
Whoa.
right? You close the door.
Whoa.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
No, you. What do you think I mean?
It sounded weird.
What do you mean weird? What were you thinking it meant?
I'm trying to figure it out. You said it.
I know, but you said whoa.
Yeah.
So
Repeat what you said.
I said maybe you got to have some meetings where some people don't come out of the meeting.
Whoa.
You know what I'm saying? Or they got to leave, or they come out of the meeting and they don't come back.
Oh, well, that's different.
It's different, you know. Or maybe you just lock the fucking OC in the meeting room for 2 weeks, and that's what I mean. But they got to figure it out. Maybe the offensive line coach needs to get saran wrapped to the goalpost, that kind of thing.
You know, Bill, the whole playing out of the black box, maybe make every day Thursday whereby they work on third down because they are booty cheeks on third down.
Booty cheeks, bro. Booty cheeks. The passing game has just been – it's also a miracle that nobody's done an A.J. Brown there. And if they did the A.J. Brown, to the point with A.J. Brown, like when you talk about the passing game, it's not always all the quarterback. The passing game has been totally out of sync, and I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it's all the quarterback. I think he's under siege. I think his eyes are going down. And, you know, he's a young player. But coming out of the bye, I expect to see them at their best, at home, playing a team who customarily does not beat teams with winning records. Somebody in the chat is going to be like, nah, that's not true. We do this all the time. Look it up. They just do not play well in these spots. Having said that, I've been really impressed with Tua since he's come back from his concussion as a whole. Now, what you saw when you got tested when you went to Green Bay was more of the same from this team. You know, like overall, the undisciplined play, the lack of physicality. This is an indoor game on the road against a team whose defense is very fast. Now, one thing about this defense is they don't have Azeez Al-Shaair, who some people want to make out to be like the Green River Killer or something. He hit a guy hard. It wasn't a good hit. We don't need to go back there. He's one of the most important players on their defense, the range that he gives them. And you talk about like how you beat the Dolphins, you know, having good linebacker play, having rangy linebackers really helps. This hurts not having him on the field. So I think a lot of it comes down to the rushers. You know, Danielle Hunter, who I had a tiny, you want to talk about bets, I put like $100 or something on Danielle Hunter to win Defensive Player of the Year and another couple hundred for him to win the sack title. Like, he's not that far off. I think he's 2 sacks behind the leader. You know, a lot of these rushers kind of cool off late in the year. He's at, 10? And then the leader's at 12.5 or 13 on the year. Like, he's got a shot to make a run here. Now, Miami gets that damn ball out. So the edges have to be really good. The corners have to tackle. Petrie, who's one of your best tacklers, not a great man coverage guy, is down. So that I do worry a little bit about the Texans' defense. It all comes down to, for me, the Texans' offense out of the bye. How does protection look? How does CJ look? And another thing is, the Dolphins have gotten really proficient at going on these long drives. So the Texans need to do a good job of not going 3 and out, you know, and they got to be good in the red zone, because when you get down in the red zone, you know, Dolphins can move the ball up and down the field. And I don't know what the production is in the red zone, but I'll be damned how many times they scoring without throwing a screen inside the 10-yard line. Like, that's what they do. So you got to be really good in the screen game when you get down there, and the rushers have to do a good job out in the field. So that's going to be a hell of a game. Looking forward to that one. Derek Carr missing a couple weeks. You could say New Orleans and the Commies is like a playoff type matchup, but not if we have a choice. I'll be watching that after.
MRP right back there, Dolphins, Texans.
Oh, we got to do MRP. God, you go Eric Winston.
I got Ray Finkel.
That's
a good one.
That's cute. And
I got a running back for you, Miami Dolphin.
oh, let me guess.
Okay.
I can't.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Really?
Remember that guy?
No shit.
Yeah.
Out of UCLA as well.
No way.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
Yeah.
Dolphins, Jay Ajayi.
That's a good one. Play with Jay.
Terry Kirby.
Now, again, the reminder is send in your most random player submissions from Dolphins or Texans yesteryear. And
Channing Crowder.
Channing Crowder's a good one.
Brandon Marshall.
Oronde Gadsden.
You guys are just naming players, huh? How about I got one.
Yamir Bell.
Who do you got the Pro Football Reference open? What's going on? How about
Brian Hartline?
golly, Jesus.
Can you guys name the Texans' first ever draft pick?
No.
Yeah.
David Carr?
Yeah, Carr. Yeah.
How about the guy that Richie Incognito supposedly bullied?
Oh.
Yeah. I can see his face.
Yeah.
Yep, Jonathan Martin?
Wasn't it?
Yep.
Martin. I played against him one time.
And
I bullied him.
I still think what you call
lit
it.
balls.
He didn't have an anchor. But there's some good random Dolphins. I know Finns fans, you know your stuff. So just send us in some MRP submissions. We'll sort through them on Monday and pick a winner. How about Chris Chamberlain? Was that who's the guy's name?
The wide receiver?
Wide receiver?
Chris Chambers.
Was it Chris Chambers? Chris Chamberlain's a linebacker that I play with out of Tulsa. He's in St. Louis.
You know, we have a fun game that you might really enjoy. We all played it yesterday.
You would be the best.
Oh, is it?
You would.
I'm
Is it-
afraid of him in that.
What is
Should
it?
we-
It's just the number and
So
No, it's
Tanner pulls a
letters.
letter.
I don't like that. My kids play this with me. Oh, go ahead, pull one.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
I kind of struggle. I struggle.
Starting with Nate.
Damn it.
We're actually playing.
So
We're gonna play the game here for a
you-
second.
You have to name a player.
Okay.
Name has to start with the letter.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have 5 seconds. To
For-
name.
and it goes.
I don't know if I'm gonna be so
Goes in
good at
order.
this. But
You
go
are.
ahead.
Yeah.
You are.
Start with Nate. Letters S.
Shannon Sharp.
Sam Shields.
Solvin Ahmed.
Sam Congato.
Sean Taylor.
Sam Bradford.
Steve Slayton.
Sean Tucker.
Sheldon Brown.
Steve Largent.
Steve Smith.
That's is too easy.
Yeah, this is too easy.
No, it's not.
3.
0.
Sack lunch.
Sam Huff.
Stevie Johnson.
Sam Hubbard.
Saquon Barkley.
Steve Coughlin.
Sam Bradford.
Wait.
Sam Bradford.
Nope.
Oh, somebody already said that?
Yeah.
Fuck.
All right, that's how the game works.
Okay, got it. This game's not as fun as like NFL Grids, in my opinion. You know?
NFL Grids is fun.
NFL Grids is so fun. Pulled up Chris Chamberlain there. That's my dog. Draft class of 08, St. Louis Rams. I was like, hey, you know where you guys are going? Earth City.
City.
Good luck.
Hey, Sunday night. Packers Seahawks. Little
Oh,
NFC.
yeah. Sunday night, Packers Seahawks.
Yeah.
This is going to be a damn good game and a test that I want to see for the Seahawks. That defense has been playing a lot better. You know, I think the Trey Brown status kind of looms large there, Noel, as you pointed out in the injury report.
Yeah, he hasn't practiced this week.
But Seattle's run defense has been a lot better. And I think this is kind of the key to the game. You know, can you slow Jacobs down? Telling you from experience playing up in Seattle late in the season, December on, Seattle's almost, you think about the journey they've been on, that losing streak, now the fact they're surging at this point. You get to December with a division lead, and, you know, everything's kind of in your control. And you get these home games in Seattle. This is as tough a place to play in Seattle in December as any place in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you're talking about Sunday night, yeah, 8:20. This thing's gonna be off the chain, dude. So big challenge for the Packers on the road. Who, when we get to the Green Light Committee meeting here in a minute to do the playoff, the Packers don't have a lot of quality wins. They've had a tough schedule. They've had a lot of opportunities, but they haven't beaten a lot of playoff teams. So look out, man. Seahawks at home catching points, yeah?
2.5.
Going to be interesting. Definitely going to be a chase long spot Sunday night. Looking forward to that game as well. We got a couple things left to get to. So I just watched in New Orleans. Yeah, you don't really have to. What are you looking forward to in this game, Nolan? I certainly am not.
I think it's looking like this game is going to be the Marshawn Lattimore debut.
Oh, yeah.
Thing to watch.
Okay.
Pretty cool for him to suit up against his former team, but you know, obviously the the Commanders, they still kind of push toward the playoffs here. That corner spot's been a problem for them this season, so they're hoping he can kind of be a savior for them.
Do you think they knew how bad his injury was when they traded for him?
Yeah, we kind of forgotten.
I think generally teams are pretty transparent with that.
Yep.
So they probably had an idea that they weren't going to be seeing him right away. Whether they knew they weren't going to see him until December, I don't know. But
they absolutely need him now. I mean, this is a game you expect to win. If they get to 9-5, how do we feel? They could be tied with the Packers after the Packers possibly lose Sunday night. I mean, they're the Rams are right on their heels at 8-6 here. So that NFC playoff picture, you kind of figure the Falcons and the Cardinals are out of it. I don't see them making big pushes to jump these teams. The seeding matters. The seeding definitely matters. The longer you go without playing Detroit or Philly or one of these teams, they're right there. They're right there, but they don't have any quality wins.
Jake Hayner's 25 years old. He could play for another 20.
He's a good-looking cat.
He could be Tom Brady 2.0.
Macon doesn't think so.
You haven't seen his little model pictures?
Yeah.
I do remember those.
Yeah.
Jake Hayner modeling. I feel like this is something we probably talked about and I forgot.
He took some promo pics.
No, he's just doing Zoolander. That doesn't mean he's. Yeah, it's funny as shit, dude.
Yeah,
that's really funny. Guy scored some points in my book with that.
Yeah,
good looking.
But yeah, no. So there's plenty of games this weekend. A lot different than the last couple weeks. Honestly, we were just in this little funk. We want
to give a quick little love from Dr. Fax and all of us here at Greenlight to Airbnb.
Oh yeah, we do.
What's up, Greenlight fans? It's your boy Dr. Fax, and I want to talk to you about Airbnb. Me and the Greenlight crew, a few years ago, we stayed at Airbnb for the Super Bowl in Arizona, and it was absolutely immaculate. It had a huge cactus in the backyard, had a pool, had enough room for everybody, way better than a hotel. And then recently just purchased a house with my girl, and we found out that we can be hosts. And your house might be worth more than you think, and you can find out at airbnb.com/host.
That was a great ad read, bro.
Thanks.
Happy birthday, great ad read.
Great ad read.
Happy day, Nate.
Have you Airbnb'd your home yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. My move, I told you, is leave town and then Airbnb it and just let the family sort it out when the people show up.
Yep.
That's called double dipping. Well, I had to pay for my trip to Baton Rouge, babe. Could you imagine?
So funny.
If I left and then a family of 5 pulled in. That'd be good. All right. So what do you guys want to do next? You want to do this college football playoff thing?
Let's do a little topic time.
So I think what's fun about this is we can't be held to this. I mean, it's just there's gonna be
we're wrong.
There's gonna be people who are gonna get. We can't be wrong. We're just seeding. We're just. So what we did is we basically came up with individually. The homework assignment was, hey, figure out a way to put a different twist on the NFL playoffs. I'll for instance give you how I did it, and it's inspired by the college football playoffs. So I kind of went off, hey, 14 teams, college football playoff, 12 teams, right? Because they have it very neatly, 6 conference winners, and then
they have the four buys and then 8 first.
We only
games.
get two buys. We're gonna stick with 14 teams, kind of like that number, instead of 3 wild cards in both. Basically, for me, what I did was, I think this would be an interesting twist. You got 8 divisions, right, in the NFL. I went 7 division winners get at large or get automatic bids, and then the 8th, the worst win total winner, is in there with the rest of them. So what this does is it ensures that, hey, you gotta try to win games late in the year. I don't care if your division's like a bunch of 2 and 14 teams late in the year or whatever. You got to try to finish and get above whoever else is in the at-large pool. So I kind of like doing the 7 division winners and then throwing in the worst division with the rest of them as kind of a punishment. And there is, as you guys are probably gonna point out, like everybody has different criteria for their bracket. Who should start? I don't want to start.
Can me and Nate start? Because we worked on one together.
That'd be great.
All right, cool.
Teamwork.
So this actually starts before the season even begins. You know how we have the whole schedule laid out week 18?
You're a good guy to be with in a group project, huh?
So the week 18 schedule is left blank. We don't know who teams are going to play in week 18. After week 17, and we talked a little bit about 10 or 11, but any team that has 11 wins automatically makes it to the playoffs and gets a bye in week 18. Then we see how many
lost revenue. You're out.
Yeah, dude.
Hold on. Then then we see how many playoff spots are left. So let's say there's like 4 playoff spots left in the NFC. You get the top 8 remaining teams, and they play a play-in game against each other to make the playoffs. Division winners don't automatically get to host a playoff game, but they get to host that week 18 game. And then here's the best part. For teams that can't make the playoffs, they're matched up against the team with the closest record, and the winner of that gets the higher draft pick.
Say that all again.
Yeah. If we could start back at before the season.
So the week 18 schedule's blank.
Yep.
After week 17, if you have 11 wins, you're automatically in. You're by NFC, AFC, whichever way you go.
Okay.
And then however many playoff spots left. So let's imagine there's 4 playoff spots left in the AFC.
That's right.
The next 8 highest ranked teams in the AFC by record would play a play-in game against each other in week 18. So you kind of turn week 18 into the playoffs, so more or less.
Oh, interesting.
And then in order to avoid all of this tanking
So NBA,
that we always have, there's so much tanking. In the last week, it's like, oh, this team got into the playoffs because Houston's trying to lose. Rather than do that, put the worst, and this was Nate's idea, put the worst 2 teams against each other, and the winner gets the higher pick.
That's pretty interesting.
The Lovie Smith.
Yeah. Well, watch out now, Bryce. Bryce is starting to play well, Lovey. But that's mildly fucked up, but
We tried.
no, it's good. It's just maybe too big for my brain. It's just like it's so outside the status quo.
Imagine not knowing what the games would be for week 18 until week 17 finishes, and then you have your matchups where it's one game to get into the playoffs.
All right, it's kind of fun. What do you think?
It's too big of an advantage for the number 1 seed currently. Like, they're the only team to get a bye. Like, if you win 11 games, get a bye.
That's interesting.
Okay.
I guess I'd rather see a bunch of meaningful games week 18 than a grab bag of bullshit.
What you got, Mix?
Wait, so who was in your? So yours is selected by record. So there's no shock. What would that look like? Do we have what it would look like?
It would look the same as our current one.
Okay.
It would just be changed by week 18's results.
All right, Make.
Okay, if that was like Galaxy Brain, I went real.
I knew you were going to be simple.
I went real pea-sized simpleton brain, okay? I think it's Damashek on Twitter who sorts by win percentage and says, this is my week's power rankings. Now, I'm serious about this. 14 best records make it. So I don't care that you've won the NFC South. And at the moment, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be on the outside looking in.
Right under the Commander.
They're 15, not 14.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's a problem for anybody, don't lose twice to the Atlanta Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once I have my 14 all sorted by win percentage, now I'm making decisions within those 14.
Got it.
There's no preferential treatment for a division winner. It's a power ranking sort of.
Now, somebody
setup.
might say, what does it mean to win a division anymore?
Yeah, well, I'm a committee and I choose. If you're the Detroit Lions winning football games, you're going to be the 1 seed as I have them. I'm not rewarding a Boise State.
Enhance.
I'm not rewarding a.
Can we go
Arizona
to half
State.
of the bracket? Yeah, let's look at half by half.
Detroit Lions 1 seed, Kansas City Chiefs 2 seed, Bills 3 seed, Eagles 4, Vikings 5, Steelers 6, Ravens 7, Texans 8, Rams 9, playing well.
Yeah.
Packers 10, Chargers 11, Broncos 12, Seahawks 13, Commanders 14.
Now that's interesting. That's where a lot of the, I think if you're power ranking teams, like we've got some, but late in the down, so to speak, in the double digits, that's where things the variability in seeding gets, because you got to make a call.
Yep. The Kingston Dr. Fax Galaxy Brain 14 is the Denver Broncos. You're 14. Don't mean to step on it. Seattle Seahawks right now.
You've seen my thing?
I have.
Fuck. All right. Well, I'll just tell you. Whole thing's ruined.
Hold on.
What?
No. I'm. This is gonna be good.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. No. You're good.
Oh, okay. Your playoffs.
I'm
gonna
telling
be good.
Cowboy. Hold on a minute. Player.
Did Cowboy make a playoff?
Not a
You didn't
good
need
one.
to make a playoff. No, just too many playoffs. People are going to be like, "Oh, there's so many fucking playoffs to choose from." Okay, in my deal, it's 7 division winners because winning a division should still matter, unless you suck. Then the number 8 division winner gets thrown in there with the rest. This year will be Tampa. So the way I ranked them, some combination of point differential, strength of schedule, and for me, quality wins. And head-to-head. Head-to-head matters a lot in my deal. Head-to-head matters a lot. Does it matter to you in your committee? Bless you.
Yeah, that's a tiebreaker to get in.
Okay, got it.
Sure.
But not once you're within?
Right, it's not.
Okay, here's what I have. I have Detroit number 1, unquestionable number 1, a plus 183 point differential, overcome injuries, beaten pretty much everybody on this schedule. Won a game where Goff threw 5 picks. Okay, things like that matter to me, the committee. Number 2 is going to be Philly. I know we've got concerns with the quarterback, but I said what I said about the roster, and they've got some pretty good wins. Okay, they beat the Packers. They beat the Commies for what that's worth. The Ravens, they blew out the Rams. Blowouts matter to me too. They blew out the Cowboys, who suck. They blew out the Bengals, who kind of suck. That stuff matters. They got a plus 108 point differential. They have a 434 strength of schedule, so not great. But Buffalo, 3 for me. I can't ignore the losses. I can't ignore that they don't have a ton of quality wins, but they do own the head-to-head over the Chiefs. And I mean no disrespect to the Chiefs. I'd give them all buys if I could, these 4, but I can't. I got to give 2 teams buys. Even if Kansas City was 3, they wouldn't get a bye. So people at home being like, oh, what the fuck? You got to earn it anyways. You're not going to get a bye in this scenario because the committee is looking at this point differential and the eyeball test and saying, hey, they're a damn good team. They have, for the last decade, the best quarterback on the planet. They got one of the best coaches ever. They got to be in the top 4, but they shouldn't be guaranteed anything based on their record. It's just to me. Okay, so Buffalo and then Kansas City, and then I've got Minnesota 5. I can't ignore the record, the point differential, and they have the strength of schedule over Pittsburgh, who I think is probably a marginally less complete team, just marginally. I think Minnesota's put enough on tape where I could put them above. Pittsburgh's in their experienced coach, quality wins, head-to-head over Baltimore, who's 7 right behind them. Baltimore's got a ton of quality wins. They got a tough schedule. They got Lamar. That matters to me. Okay, so I'm putting them over Green Bay. The thing about Green Bay that I don't love is they don't have a lot of quality wins. They do have the head-to-head over the Rams. They slide in ahead of the Rams. The Rams are 9 for me. Their point differential is not great, but I also, as a committee member, look at the fact that they're surging, and they have not been at full strength all year. And when they're at full strength, most people would agree they're one of the best 8-10 teams in the league. Give me them at 9. They have quality wins. They just beat Buffalo. The Chargers, it's a weird one for me. What put them ahead of Denver was simply the head-to-head, and I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fair. Fair as fuck.
Denver is going to be 11. They have some bad blowout losses.
Yeah.
Like when they play good teams, they don't have a lot of quality wins, but nevertheless, they're in. I put Tampa 12. They're the only team to beat the Lions. I take the injuries into account. I think from an eyeball standpoint, I like them better than Houston. Houston's had a lot of problems. They've had a tough strength of schedule relative to some of the other teams on this list. They're plus 54 in the point differential. That's better than Houston by more than double. Houston goes 13. They do have the Buffalo win, but the Minnesota blowout win really hurts, or the loss.
Mm-hmm.
The Minnesota blowout loss, and then Seattle again at 14. I put Seattle in over the Commanders because the Commanders don't have a single good win. Like you could argue the Commanders don't have a single good win. And Seattle won their division. So the way they're surging, they got more quality wins. They're trending up. I just slid them in. So in my playoff, Commanders, they just miss out. I hate to say that. And really, I think most people would take issue with Tampa being a couple slots higher than them. But I just trust Tampa. The committee came together and they said, we're just going to slide Tampa in here at 12. So I think what you get here, if you don't have NFC, AFC anymore, is you get some fun matchups. In my bracket here, it's a lot of AFC, NFC, but you do get. No, you don't get any fun matchups.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah,
well,
you do.
no, you might. You could get Minnesota, Kansas City in the second round. That'd be tight. You probably get Green Bay, Detroit again. Or Green Bay, LA, or Detroit, LA, which would be a lot of fun. You're going to get Eagles, Ravens probably in the second round. You probably get the Bills and the Broncos or the Steelers, which would be a lot of fun. A lot more fun than it was last year in the playoffs.
I think Packers-Rams is a good matchup too.
Yeah.
McVay versus LaFleur.
So none of this is ever going to happen, but this is what we think would happen. Nolan, you had a totally different criteria, which I think was going to take a second to explain, but it's a lot more BCS-y.
Yeah. I'll keep it tight. I just thought about it as far as at large versus automatic, I'm probably more in the Macon type school of thought of best 14 teams. And then I'm going to figure out a way to start that process of ranking those teams. And then I have final say as committee. So I basically built this little just like a composite rankings model of these 5 key factors that I think are important measures of good football teams: 2 efficiency metrics, EPA per play and successful play percentage, third down conversion rate, red zone touchdown percentage, and then scoring drive percentage. And then looked at that both offensively and defensively, and then just kind of combine those, average them out to kind of seed teams that way initially before ordering. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, just the model, what the metrics spit out were Lions, Eagles 1 and 2, Vikings 3, Ravens 4, Bills 5, and then Chargers, Bucks 6 and 7.
They love the Bucks. Your model loved the Bucks.
Love the Bucks. And you do have quality wins there with Lions and Eagles, and they took the Chiefs to OT. So then Steelers, Broncos at 8 and 9. Packers,
Jesus, we haven't heard Chiefs yet.
Chiefs all the way at 11.
Holy smokes.
That's
and
crazy.
then
You're going to take some heat for that. I didn't say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where the committee steps in. I would take the Chiefs way higher than that, back up to the 4 spot.
Oh, the committee's got it. Yeah, committee's got it. Yeah.
This is back to my model.
It's just interesting to see. It's just interesting to see what the numbers say and like where the metrics kind of stack these teams. And I would probably leave the Commanders out too at this point. And I would leave the Dolphins would come in at 14 based on the models, but I would leave them out too and bring Seahawks and Rams in.
Someone in the chat, Thomas, said that Bo probably had a hand in this because of the Bucks. So how?
No, we have, and maybe we have confirmation bias. I think we all think the Bucks are pretty good. They're a tough out, and
Bucks not in my 14.
Yeah, who's in your 14? We already went through it, didn't we?
Yeah, but the Bucks aren't in mine.
The Bucks are not in there.
Mm-mm.
Well, fuck, dude. Everybody can't be happy. That's just the way it's going to be with this kind of with this kind of playoff. The committee gets involved. Some of Nolan's models get involved.
Bucks are 7 and 6. Win
Chaos
more games,
ensues.
Yeah, win more games for sure.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, if you do it by the model, the first 14, all the teams have at least 8 wins. So why would the Bucks be able to sneak in there?
Well, we're doing it like college football playoffs, so it's not just about wins.
Yeah.
In college football. And so that was the inspiration for doing this exercise. And so therefore, while Macon did it purely by winning percentage.
Well, that's who got in.
Yes.
That was the field.
Yes. I think the committee, there is a human error element to this thing. You know what I mean? Which I don't think it's an error at all. You know? I think the Commanders, the way they've been playing lately, factors into this. You know? They blew out the Titans. Cool. They're going to blow out the Saints. Cool. You know? So, anyways, there's a whole bunch of something that's never going to happen. But it was a fun exercise.
I like it.
Hypotheticals.
Now, do we have any other topics, fellas?
We do.
Yeah.
So the current projected wildcard teams are the Ravens, Chargers, Broncos, and the Vikings, Packers, Commanders. If you could bring back any legend from who played for one of those teams to play for that team in this season's playoffs, who would you pick?
Got to pick one team, one player, huh?
One team, one player.
Man, who would
6 total players?
Who would swing things the most?
Oh,
I mean, like,
we'll pick the first team.
Ravens. What do they need?
They need a damn linebacker, in my opinion. They'd bring back Ray Lewis, and it'd be hell in the middle of the field.
I picked Terrell Suggs.
Yeah, Suggs would be great.
Just barely over Anquan Bolden because
there's a wide receiver piece. I agree.
There's something.
What about
missing
Ed
there.
Reed?
The thing Ed Reed's probably the one. Ed Reed, if you'd ask Bill Belichick, he'd bring back Ed Reed. He'd bring back Ed Reed.
Shannon Sharp.
Not the first mention today.
I think the thing that they would have to fix, like if you could just zap somebody in, is like you'd probably allocate defensively. In my opinion.
Yep.
That does make sense.
And good options with Suggs, Lewis, and Reed.
Yep. There's a couple good ones. There's also Haloti Nada. You think about the way that guy swung games.
Not going to work here anymore.
Yep, you got it.
Chargers.
I have one for the Chargers.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
Should be in consideration. I went Antonio Gates. We'll save for Justin Herbert.
I don't think you can argue with that.
What about Kellen Moore or Kellen Winslow Sr.?
Sure, but he's probably pretty old. No, but I do think a tight end would help a lot. If McConkey's up and you had a tight end, that'd be pretty fun. Okay.
Yep.
Broncos.
It's Terrell Davis or Shannon Sharp.
I went with John Elway. With all due respect to
I love the fact that he
Tim Tebow.
We could see Elway. He's shocked. We could see Elway Mahomes, dude. That would be incredible, dude.
Tebow.
Elway Mahomes is one of those, like, those guys should have played each other.
Man, in Bo we trust.
Oh, 100%. Let's get some weapons.
You're not subbing in.
No, 7? No. He can hang out at his car dealership.
You'd rather. So what you're saying is you'd rather have Bo Nix, Terrell Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Than John Elway, Javonte Williams.
What about
Yeah.
Tebow? Tebow won a
Devon
playoff
Bailey?
game. Tebow won a playoff game.
That's
Show
okay.
some respect, guys.
No.
You guys don't respect the playoff win?
Bo Nix, Shannon Sharp, Bo Nix.
QB wins. We're doing QB wins.
I mean, you're asking about what player you bring, man. Tebow know how to win.
Also, you bring the team together.
Hey, you never know, man.
You know?
Yeah, we're good on Tim Tebow. Minnesota Vikings.
Christian Darrisaw.
Randall Cunningham.
Darrisaw or Steve Hutchinson?
That's a good one.
What about Bryant
Hutchinson.
McKinney?
Yeah, McKinney was damn good.
John Randall.
Yeah, I think, oh, man, John Randall on that D-line.
Jared Allen.
John Randall on that D-line.
That would be ridiculous.
Oh, it'd be ridiculous. Yeah. Just all the movement you can do with him. Okay, Packers. Reggie White.
Yeah.
Brett Favre.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Charles Woodson.
We just
Aaron
keep
Rodgers.
saying
Quarterback.
I only said quarterbacks for Denver and
Clay
Green Bay.
Matthews. No?
Yeah.
No respect for Clay in here?
I respect the fuck out of
I
Clay.
have that too.
Clay was, but
got
if I
quiet.
could bring Clay or Reggie White back,
Yeah.
it's like it's 2x. Whatever you're thinking is double that. Reggie White's one of the best players to ever play the game. Like, period. You don't have to get me.
I'm just saying, bro. Like I can't have my list. Why am I getting beat up for my list?
Why do I get the? Gotcha. What the fuck? It's Reggie White, bro. It's the Minister of Defense.
I got a slam dunk for the next one.
I heard a story about Reggie White this week from Seth Joyner. He was like, yeah, because he played with Reggie. He said Reggie was like super, like, you know, as you would imagine, nice. And then he would like kick people's ass on the field. But he would never like really talk shit like that. And supposedly they were doing like joint practices. And an opposing offensive line coach had kind of like singled out Reggie and was talking shit to him. And like, so he does one rep. The guy's still talking shit. And Reggie, he starts to get upset. And he lines back up and he goes, "Here comes Jesus." And he fucking flatbacks the guy and like walks over the guy to the quarterback, like walks on him to the quarterback. He said, "Here comes Jesus." Like, get out of the way, bro.
And the body is made up of mostly water.
Yeah, no, I know.
Walking on water.
Yeah, I know. He's really doing the Jesus thing.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Golly. Washington Commanders.
Who cares? They're not my playoff.
Daryl Green.
Daryl Green.
For sure.
Put some speed out there.
But they got Marshawn Lattimore.
How about Sean Taylor?
Yeah.
So another very good answer.
Yeah, it's hard to or get the guy a damn receiver. Noah Brown's down now too. That's a big deal. Noah Brown's down. I know they got Terry McLaurin, but how about another guy?
Art Monk.
Art Monk is really
Santana
the
Moss.
Deshaun
They
Jackson.
really no. Hey guys, this is
Deshaun
Santana Moss
Jackson.
erasure. How do you say that?
Erasure.
Erasure. This is Pierre Garçon.
Oh,
Erasure.
Pierre Garçon.
I like Pierre Garçon.
I trained with him in Florida.
Yeah.
God, yeah. He had
Word?
one of those smart cars.
Really?
Those little $20 or not $20, like those 2-door.
Okay.
Like $20 to fill up smart car he would be driving to and from.
That sounds weird.
It does.
A big thanks to BetMGM.
Big thank you to BetMGM. Hey, one more thing. Troy Vince is talking about getting rid of the onside kick again. You guys got any idea what you would do? Any ideas?
How you
instead
mean
of the
getting rid
onside
of it?
kick? Well,
Do like a 4th and 15.
Yeah.
because it's just become 4th and 15 is too easy. Because all the flags.
Right.
It's like if you did so the whole contention is that the onside kick is too difficult, which it is. I mean, it's just, but also how about
But that's the
don't be
point,
losing,
right?
I know, but it's like they want it to be a little bit more entertaining, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's not entertaining now. Like you see an onside kick, the minute McDermott called that timeout the other day, you were like,
Tweak the rules of it. Make it easier. Like tweak the rules
like
of it.
8
Like
yards or something.
or maybe
seven.
maybe you can start running. Like or I don't know. Like tweak it, but it's supposed to be hard. Like that's the whole point of it. It's supposed to be a long shot for you to get back in this game. That you have to do this.
No, I agree with you. You know, you want a better option at the end of the game, play better.
Right.
But if they're doing this, what about like a Hail Mary?
Yeah.
Does a Hail Mary have a higher probability than onside kick? Do we know?
I don't think
You
so.
don't think so?
What if it was?
Why do I feel like it does? When they line up for a Hail Mary, I'm like, this could be the play.
Yeah.
What's the main reason of taking it out? Because they said like just it's the probability of it, or is there anything with
I suppose
injuries
it's
and
the probability. Another thing they're talking about is outlawing like below the waist blocks, like no more at all. No cut blocks. Cut blocks dead. So
And
Wait.
having review for face mask penalties.
This is where they need to bring the XFL rule in. Put a ball at the 50, best on best.
oh yeah.
Sprint. That's
So you
your
can go
onside
get
kick.
it. Who would
Yeah.
be your guy?
For the Broncos?
I think Nolan brought this one up when we were talking about
Oh,
Kyle
he has
Hamilton
two.
would be great at that.
Oh, he would be good.
But then that's too easy.
Perfect.
You just kick an onside kick every time because you know you'd have the better 50-50 guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It'd be fun.
All right,
What do you
make
mean
it
though?
take it.
You can only
Yeah.
kick one onside kick now,
Okay.
or you can only kick late in the game. I think this have to be like only at the end of the game thing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Can only
You
have
get
it
it
once.
once, yeah.
Yeah, you can only do it once.
Have the kicker kick from the 10 and he has to hit the upright.
It's turning into Canada. It's
No
turning
rush.
into Canada.
Well, they
Got to
made
put
that-
in some
that
rugby
would be-
rules.
Oh, I got it. This is a good one. Stadium security has to catch one guy from your team like he's a streaker. And the longer the team that has the longer lasting guy, well, but then the problem is if you do the first guy, the stadium security is going to be gassed. The Yellow Jackets are going to be gassed for the second guy.
Why can't they go back to the way it used to be when you could line up 10 guys on one side of the ball? Like they made it more difficult in the past when you now have to have people on each side.
Player
Line up 10
safety.
guys.
I don't know, man. I'm not a fucking kicker. You know, I don't know why these things happen.
How about if the team owner gets naked, takes his clothes off or her clothes off in the owner suite, you retain possession. But if the owner declines, nah.
I think you make the onside kick 7 yards. I think if you make it 7 yards, it'll be easier. It'll be easier to maybe recover it.
Yeah.
There'll be more collisions.
Yeah,
and
I'm
more
still
chaos.
thinking about Jerry Jones with his piece.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Jerry Jones with his piece pressed up against the glass, breathing.
I'm naked.
It's worth it. Give us the ball back.
like just like breathing, and he's got like fucking his breath showing up on the glass.
It's all pixelated on TV.
And Steven Jones and them are like in the background. They're watching on the TV. They don't want to have to look at his naked ass to see the field.
But
You
they're
know?
clapping because you get the ball back.
Yes.
Crowd's going wild.
Crowd's going nuts. Crowd's going nuts.
Lit balls.
Blue balls, baby.
Orbs.
Orbs. Orbs.
Damn, dude.
Oh.
Hey, somebody said, bruh. Hey, thank y'all for stopping today.
And we'll shout out.
Real quick before I do the ad read. Saw a good movie. People at home. Strange Darling. Have you heard about this movie or seen this movie?
I haven't seen it. What's it about?
Serial killer with a twist. Very good.
Don't tell us.
Very good movie. You know the doctor from Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yes.
I found it looking at his Instagram. He was like promoting it. He's in the movie. And then I was like, fuck it, I'll watch it. The other night I had like 6 hours in the hotel.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I went outside, listened to some Marshall Tucker. You know what I mean? Came back in, the fucking hallways were looking like Minecraft.
Can't believe you.
Hey, I ordered a movie. It took me like 2 hours to get down to watching it. I DoorDashed. You know what I DoorDashed? I DoorDashed Cool Waters by Davidoff. I DoorDashed Cologne. Just on a whim, bro. I was sitting in the room like, oh, dude, I need some Benadryl. I kind of got a cold. Ended up with no Benadryl and ordered some fucking Cool Waters.
Just being high?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
No, I
That's
didn't
great.
say hi. I went outside and listened to Marshall Tucker.
Oh, okay. Does it smell good at least?
Oh, Davidoff?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, it smells good. You never smelled Cool Waters? Oh, bro, you haven't lived. That's your Christmas present. I'm getting you some Cool Waters. I'll tell you.
God.
And yeah, and Strange Darlings, the movie, is very good. And there's two last items, housekeeping items. I moved them in the back of the show. Everybody's trying to end the show. Matt's moving to the side. Okay. I got a take for you guys. So the other day, I got a friend that lives like 2 miles away from me, like on the other side of town. And like there's a main road in our town that runs west. And it just runs. Mm-hmm. And so my friend lives like 2 miles past me. Friend since growing up. He's texted me. He's been to my house numerous times. Hey, what's my address? Or, what's your address? And I'm like, well, fuck, dude, you've been here before. Like, what do you? And he's like, no, I want to send a Christmas card. And am I out of line to say, like, can't you just drop the motherfucker off on the way into town? Like, why do I have to type out my address 40 times?
Probably his wife.
I know it's always.
It's probably his wife. Like, hey, just get me the address.
No, but I love I love denying people the satisfaction of like things like that, where it's just like, it's a menial thing. It's like, bro, you really don't even need to send this Christmas card out, honestly.
I think that's something that us as males, we feel that way, but I think like females, like that's something that they look forward to, sending out Christmas cards, having the family on it and things like that. You don't think so?
I like Christmas cards. I'm
this
not trying
male-
to be the Grinch.
Yeah, you like
It's the most important thing
Oh,
in
see?
my life. Yeah.
See?
For this
See?
mail.
Yeah.
And what's on your card?
My 3 kids.
Yeah.
See exactly.
Steve said it
people
was just a picture of your driveway.
No, that's what Kingston's dad said.
Oh, that's what Kingston's dad
And
said.
what's funny here is Stanford Steve just texted me asking for your address. Get ready for another one.
I just think if you live in town.
Are you the Grinch?
No, not at all. I'm not trying to be the Grinch. I like Christmas cards and everything. I definitely like the Christmas cards where people are like, hey, here are the accomplishments of my 5 kids. And if you do, no, like, good for them.
Yeah.
Seriously. But like, what if it makes my kids feel like they haven't done shit? I'm gonna hang that thing on the fucking with your kid's GPA on my fridge.
That's true.
And my kids are like,
I didn't think about it like
you know what I mean? And then also like, I don't really care.
I read every word.
Like I like your kids whether or not they did a school project well this year or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to see the picture. And when it's appropriate, just drop it off is all I'm saying.
It's probably
why drop it off?
There's a
Comes an
mailbox at the end of the. No, it's not an errand. It's like, let me just pull off this side of here and drop it.
So
in
is
the
that
mailbox.
weirder or not? Like seeing like a male person drop it off, or if you just see like your neighbor just coming to put something in your mailbox?
Well,
You wouldn't think
it
would
cuts
look-
out the middleman who is me.
Oh, because he's asking your address.
Yeah, and then the worst.
That's on
is
him.
Some people will send me like, "Hey, input this into this app. It's how we're sorting all of the addresses that we need." I'm like, bro.
Oh, that person can go fuck themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a little much with the addresses. How about keep the one from last year? Haven't moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we're
So-
being Grinches, can we talk about something like I hate the group text happy birthdays. I know they've already started coming in for Nate. Just send him happy birthday yourself.
You don't even need to tell me happy birthday. Seriously, you don't have to
Yeah,
text me happy birthday. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because then I
don't
got.
want- I don't want it either.
I'm glad that you said that because you did that to me last year on my birthday. You started a chain text,
a group
and I was
text.
like, "I'm good."
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I appreciated it. But
That's funny. I usually I'm not gonna do it this year. Usually on Facebook, like today, I would take down people being able to leave comments on my page, so that like, cause like tomorrow you'll get like a bunch because Facebook like promotes it to everyone, but. Now that my Facebook is monetized, I gotta leave it up. Just comments
take
equal
your
money.
birthday off. Can you take your birthday?
Change your
No.
birthday to every single day.
Yeah.
Comments, yeah. that might be a hack.
Algorithm,
Yeah.
comments, posts, likes.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the chat, "I want to smoke what Chris is smoking." That night, it was one of my favorites, Gorilla Glue 4.
Oh, GG4.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. Yeah, and then the last thing is, I got a piece of news recently, and I think I've shared it with you guys, but I think I can share it. So, you know, climbing Kili over the last over the last 10 years, doing conquering Kili with vets and that sort of thing. I made a lot of friends with some pretty awesome, accomplished veterans, and a few of them are Green Berets. And some of my homies that are Green Berets invited me this year. How many of y'all know this? Y'all don't know this?
I do not know.
I think you know this.
But yeah.
I'm jumping out of an airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm jumping out of an airplane for D-Day
Nice.
in Normandy.
Wow.
Oh shit.
But it's a static jump. So it's not like I'm not up there with two people.
It's gonna be nuts.
It's just like walk
It's
off
gonna
the
be
back
so
of the
cool.
plane and your chute deploys, we hope. And
You don't have to pull it.
Wait, you're by yourself?
No.
you're by yourself. It's static line.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So like
How's that like?
before I butcher this,
It's
like
like the way that our
It's
guys dropped into Normandy and D-Day in 44.
yeah, you just walk off the back of the plane. The chute catches on like a track, and 4 seconds after you're out, it's like. But you can still, you know.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
it eliminates. So you're not pulling your chute when you jump out of an airplane. You're not pulling it. This is attached to a line in the airplane. His parachute. So he's gonna walk out. The second he jumps out of the door, that line that he's
Okay.
connected to severs
And then
in
how
a
is-
good way,
and-
and then it pulls the parachute, his parachute.
Now
Then how do you dictate where you're going and where you land?
It still has like
you got to
pull
steer it and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I'm not worried about the landing. You could break all my legs. I just want the thing to deploy. You know what I mean? I could deal with a fighting chance. You can put me into a tree.
How does your wife feel about this?
Oh, she gets to go to Normandy. And maybe the fact that she wasn't so worried about it has me a little worried.
Going to Normandy.
And honestly, I don't know if my parents love me anymore because when I called them, I thought it would be a lot bigger deal. I think they're just like, oh, how are the grandkids? You know what I'm saying? And besides, like, you know, I know what y'all are thinking. What if? What's the probability of me making it to D-Day? There's a lot of shit that can happen. You walk down the street and get hit by a car. You know what I mean?
We could get orbed.
So when
the
is-
Orbs could be here.
Yeah,
I
when
might
is
not even
this?
have to worry about this
When are you doing this?
in June.
June 6th,
Man,
1944.
1940.
80 years.
So yeah, dude, I'm super psyched about that. But it was one of these things that, like, when your buddies ask you, and they're Green Berets, and it's D-Day, and it's Normandy, you're kind of like, I have to say yes, right? Like, who says no to that?
Dude, it's awesome.
I know you would say no.
I've jumped out of a plane. I'd say yes.
Would you say yes to this?
Yeah, dog.
How was it?
Awesome.
Really?
You were attached to
But
somebody?
I was.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm confused about, because I hear all the time, because I want to jump out of an airplane, but the weight limits, because you have to be attached to someone for so many jumps
Yep.
before you can do it alone. And I'm past I'm way past the threshold of thinking about
Yeah, I'm
losing
not
weight
going out to
do
Orange
it.
County and jump in tandem with some guy that could be stoned. You know what
Like,
I'm
That's
saying?
exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I did the same.
I'm gonna be up there with the finest.
But like, are you going to be attached? You're not going to be
Not
attached,
attached
to
to
anybody.
anybody.
That's what I'm confused about.
I know.
It's just like,
It is confusing.
so no practice. There's no training for this.
I suppose I'm gonna have to train.
There's
somewhat.
no one in here worried about this. That like he might not come back.
I think it's gonna be sick.
I think you guys would be fine.
Green Beret.
Like, yeah, when you say Green Beret and it's like a thing, I'm not
It's
really
just
worried.
also like
Okay.
just if focus on
Sounds like what you have to do is walk out of the plane.
just do a couple more of those
this is the whitest conversation.
do some-
you're
no.
saying walk out of an airplane so calmly.
but just do some drafts. Do some, some more of that college football playoff kind of stuff where you and just talk about the games, guys. It really isn't that hard. You guys will be fine.
Well, and do you have a will? Get your affairs in order.
You guys are all not in it, but I will get that in order. So anyways, I just wanted to close the show with that. I'm pretty psyched about that. There'll be more to come on that. I think Cowboy Reed, you're going to have to come with me.
No problem.
Damn, that's nice.
No problem.
I look forward to that week interviewing a Caucasian ESPN personality, as is custom.
Yeah. So you're just going to get a Sports Center anchor. Uh-huh. But what if that has to keep happening for
I'm
like
gonna run out at some
in
point.
perpetuity?
Yeah.
All right, chat. Thank you so much for
Thanks to BetMGM.
and thank you to BetMGM. As we get ready for Week 15 in the NFL this weekend, I want you to picture this: you bet your favorite player his first touchdown score, but he throws a block to send a teammate into the end zone, and you lost your bet, right?
Wrong.
With BetMGM second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Keep that in mind next time you throw in a first touchdown score bet with BetMGM. Happy hunting. This weekend, I might chase at an all-time level. We might even do a live stream. Seriously, the way I might chase. I just haven't picked the victim yet. So stay tuned. And thank y'all so much for joining us, not just this Friday, every Friday.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos! Pew!
Pyaw.